Hi, everybody out there in YouTube land, and welcome to Something to Talk About. And today we're doing not quite a surprise, but almost a surprise live stream where we're just talking about the Nightfort, and I have two amazing people with me to do it. And yeah, shit's gonna get weird. So let's go. Hi, welcome
Hello,
to
hello.
something to talk
Hey.
about. Zach showed up right in time, and this is Micheal Talks About Stuff's real face and mustache.
I'm not a Weirwood tree, believe it or not. I just
And
play one on YouTube.
Zach and Micheal switched who was going to be a voice and who was going to be a face.
I can turn my camera on. It's just my phone camera, and my room is a mess. And I'm also lying in bed playing Roller Coaster Tycoon while I'm on here. So we don't have internet. I just moved. Actually, I literally moved into a castle.
Oh
So
my god!
I know that sounds ridiculous. They turned this castle into 7 apartments, and it was
that's
cheaper
nuts.
than where we were living before. And we're like, yeah, let's live in a castle. But we don't have internet set up until tomorrow, so I have to call in from my phone.
Pennsylvania is not counted as New England, right? Even though it was part of the colonies.
It was part of the colony. So this is Philadelphia proper, and this is like an old colonial like castle, or at the very least, like I'm pretty sure this is like pre-Civil War at the very least. But like the interior is all modern, or at least as modern as you can make a castle.
Midwest, where the oldest house in the city I live in is like late 1800s. You know, like none of this, like this is still not really touched.
Oh yeah,
too much. And so then when I went to the East Coast to just like on vacation with my wife, it was like everything's so old. Like holy crap! Like castles. What? All right. Let's do an actual for real intro and then let's get into it. So, welcome to Something to Talk About. We got Micheal Talks About Stuff, and we got Zach from Interesting Nerd Club. And like we will bring up chat, but since we do have like a lot of heavy stuff to go through, if I won't be putting up everything. So if you want to make sure I notice, please put in a super chat, or I do have the link to the PayPal. That way YouTube doesn't get the 40% and it can go straight to us, and then you can write it in the PayPal and you can do $1 as far as like anything as far as I care. If you'd sent either through super chat or that, we then will for sure read it out loud. All that being said, you guys want to get spooky and scary and
I'm ready.
Stuff.
Ghost stories.
Oh my god! So this is my thumbnail, and let's do the intro. So the Nightfort was the first castles. Oh my god! First, guys, we got the first typo in the first sentence. Here we go.
Nice.
First castle, and
right
is now one of the abandoned castles of the Night's Watch along the wall. The steps on the side of the wall were carved into ice instead of wood. It sits between Icemark and to the west in Deep Lake to the east. The Nightfort figures in some of Old Nan's scariest stories. It's haunted and ancient and creepy as hell. There you go. So that's our intro. So Night's Watch, Night's Fort, Night's King. Getting a lot of night stuff.
Yeah, long night.
In the long night, yes.
Yeah, the long night. Oh man. Oh,
which we assume is related.
All these hellos. What's up, everybody? How are you guys today? Yeah, I'm assuming the long night. It's so hard to decide what's accurate and what's not, and what the right time frame of like the long night happened and then Bran the Builder put up the wall and then the Night's King was afterwards, or was it like Azor Ahai was the David Lightbringer subscribes to Azor Ahai was the Night's King, because Azor Ahai doesn't sound like a good guy, like stabbing his wife, possibly destroying the moon.
Yeah, both problematic things that you probably shouldn't do.
Try not to do either of those things. One's a lot more achievable, but you shouldn't do either.
Try not to do blood rituals at all. Actually,
that seems to be a theme. Actually,
unless it's your blood,
right? Self-sacrifice versus sacrifice is definitely one of the things.
I'm not down with self. like bloodletting. I'm not a big fan of that on my own, like, because I just don't, if you're getting results, that's cool. But I absolutely don't want you to do it to other people, especially unwilling people. And I don't think Misa or whatever her name was okay with being stabbed in the heart. That's a hard sell.
Yeah.
I agree.
My wife doesn't want to go to the grocery store or the bank in the same day, let alone being stabbed through the heart.
Yeah. You got to really do some convincing for that one.
I do have a quote that I said earlier. We were talking about dating and relationships with my group of friends, and I said, "It's okay if she stabs me a little. I like to try new things." So maybe Nisa and I would have some things in common.
I've never been dead before.
I'll try anything once. Let's try death.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get more into it. So I want to get kind of my slides out of the way before we get really deep into it. I want to build the foundation. So this next slide is just the ruins. So it is the physical description of the Nightfort itself. So according to maesters who serve at the Nightfort, the castle was rebuilt many times over thousands of years with only deep stone vaults remaining from the first form, which I think we're going to have to bring up later because I feel like that's actually really important. The abandoned Nightfort has broken towers and maze of tunnels connecting its vaults and tunnels. Tunnels connecting its tunnels. Buildings include a bell tower, a rookery, a brew house. I mean, you got to get drunk, man. A library, a dungeon capable of holding 500 prisoners. Jeebus. A bathhouse, and an armory and a forge. A rat-filled great hall only has one remaining wall, and the kitchen is a stone octagon, which is super cool, with a domed roof that contains a stepped well, which, again, we definitely will get into the well. Its yards have become small forests, a twisted weirwood grove through a hole in the kitchen, and there are also trees growing in the stables. The gate through the wall is sealed with frozen stone and rubble. All right. First things first. I'm not immediately going to call up Michael, but I'm going to. So I've been going through a lot of your more recent stuff of bringing up the wall and your theories about ancient weirwoods being inside the wall, so on and so forth. Do you think that the fact that the Nightfort constantly is being broken down and rebuilt, does that in any way get in the way of your theories, or do you think that it's the bottom vaults in the well that hasn't been touched, and that, like, because the only thing is, like, if it was originally built for that reason, like, I think you might know what I'm trying to say, but, like, if it was rebuilt 500 years later, how do they know any of the ancient Knights King stuff that it was originally made for?
Well, that's kind of the thing is, if it was rebuilt over and over again, they may have forgotten, in fact, that this well is a giant tree, and the only real signs of that you can see at this point are the fact that since it's been abandoned, the tree is, like, breaking up through the floor and poking its way out. So it's like, it's tough to say because we don't really know, like, how old the kitchen is. We assume that it's fairly old because it's the rat cook's kitchen, but it might not be like the first building of the Nightfort either, But then again, we don't,
Well,
you don't know what. We don't know too much about the whole layout of the thing, right?
No,
like, we don't know how deep anything is into the wall. We don't know how deep.
Well, and it sounds so much bigger than what we were, like, we only hear the words, right? Yeah. We hear it has 80 different types, a rookery, a brewery, or whatever, or whatever. All those can be really large or really, we don't really know the real layout. And also, now that I'm thinking about it, the more you convince me that a lot of it's straight up a root structure. I remember the first time when I went through it of hearing about the tiny little weak tree that's, like, going through the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And that does almost sound more like a root, the way that it was described, opposed to an actual tree,
Yeah, it's like it's like either a root or like a curved branch coming off the trunk and just looking for any way to break through to some sunlight. But yeah, that's the vibes I got, at least. And I think, like, when Bran and company are outside, they see, like, weirwoods poking up through, and I think that might be part of the same branch. Like, I don't know, because I think it describes it as Weirwoods.
Yeah.
Whereas like there's one skinny one poking up through the roof of the kitchen, but like that could split off further by the time it reaches the surface. It's tough to say because like again, the Black Gate we also don't really know. Like at least I don't, unless someone can clarify, like where exactly it is. We know it's within the wall, and the face like opens up to the north side of the wall, but it's like it seems to be going straight up and down. So, like, is it most of the way into the wall, like up against the north face of the wall, and then it's like up? Because that would mean the kitchens are pretty deep into the wall.
Yeah, and also they don't say anything about sunlight being in the kitchen either. Like, I don't hear anything, unless I might have to go back through it.
It says that the roots, or it says that the tree is like breaking up through the roof of the kitchen, reaching for sunlight or something like that. I think.
All right,
but
we got a super chat from somebody who's usually in here with us, and that's Rust Shackelford. So really off topic, and I'm not really sure because I don't remember a lot of Game of Thrones, the show anymore, but a Tywin yelling at a guy for mixing up two houses and delivering the message to the wrong side. Is that all from the books? I don't remember that.
Yes. Because all the Tywin and Arya stuff is from the show. It's Roose she ends up with. She bounces around a ton of people in the books, and they honestly, if you're looking for something the show did better than the books, like that whole thing of like her with Tywin, I personally enjoy a little bit more. It's a fun, ingenious sort of pairing, but that whole thing is, I believe, entirely a show thing. I don't recall. I'm actually re-listening to. I'm re-listening to Clash right now, and it's been a very long re-listen, interrupted by like listening to 3 other books when I hit a lull. But we never get a close enough POV to Tywin to see the stuff he's doing, and I don't think there's a similar scene with Roose. I don't remember.
I think that's absolutely a show thing. But thanks for the super chat, and
thank you.
I think we answered it correctly. I think that is just a show thing. So I'm gonna jump in. So I feel like I was off topic asking about something right away, but it was in my head, so I had to be like, so about this whole constantly renovating thing. But that might also be like there are secret rooms and maybe even secret things that might got paved over, or like, oh, we'll just put this other house on top of this, and this house won't have stairs going down, so there's a whole new basement. Where I thought I was like, I wonder how Michael's going to talk his way out of this one. You had a really easy one, actually. So. All right. History and spooky stories. The Nightfort is a large castle, and the oldest being twice as old as Castle Black. That's crazy. The Nightfort is remembered in spooktastic stories of the North dating back to thousands of years, where it was there that the Night's King reigned before his name was wiped from the memory of man. And where the rat cook served an Andal king, either Tywell II Lannister or Oswell the First Arryn, we're not sure, his prince and bacon pie. Yeesh. It was where 79 sentinels stood their watch, where brave young Danny Flint was assaulted and murdered, where King Sherritt called down the curse of the Andals of old. The Nightfort is also where apprentice boys faced the thing that came in the night, and where blind Simeon Star Eyes saw, how did he see it? Hellhounds fight. That's a plot point right there. And where Mad Axe walked the yards and climbed the towers to butcher his brothers in the dark. Whoa. Some stories are described in Archmeister's Watches on the Wall. All right.
So the one that stands out to me on that I don't think we have a slide for on its own yet, which is what you brought up, is how did Simeon Star Eyes see anything when his entire thing's a big contradiction.
He's blind. He's not a knight.
He's not a knight because he's called a knight, but he's thousands of years too early. Yeah. And then he's blind. That's the one thing we know about him, is that he's blind. And the second thing we know about him is that he saw something. That's all we know. It's like, okay.
He's blind, he saw something, and the place he saw something is noted for being really dark and having like things that like hide in the shadows in it. This is the least likely sighting to ever happen in all of Westeros. Not only can he not see, even if he could see, that would not be the place it would happen. Maybe if he was in Sunspear.
And we don't know what hellhounds are. They're only referenced from him seeing them at the Nightfort, as far as I'm aware.
Well, and there's also this sounds so much like a Dorne thing, anyways. Like because Dorne have like desert dogs or whatever, like kind of hellhoundish things, and this is like dark Nightfort blind dude is like, hey, look, demons, and everyone's like, okay, bro.
Right, and so and hellhounds in legend are like deathly, ghostly dogs that like foreshadow your death if you see them, basically. Ooh. But it's also like, is that what George means by hellhounds, or does he have some other idea in his head? I don't know.
Or did he just type a sentence and we're a bunch of dumb nerds?
That's 90%.
Always a possibility.
Always a. You think he's ever like, guys, it's a book. Shut up.
Yeah, I tend to think like actually George, because this is how I would be. I tend to think when he throws those little lines in his head, he's like, I know, like this is a big thing, but also I'm just not going to go into it. Like he's got some idea of what a hellhound is at the Nightfort, but he's just going to give us a little bite-sized piece.
He might have Daredevil sight. You're right.
Yeah, my other thought was like, what if he like he saw it and like he was tripping on mushrooms sort of thing, right? Like he sensed it.
He saw it.
Also, so he puts sapphires in both of his eyes instead of one of his eyes. I was just
going to ask what's in his eyes.
Yeah. So are the sapphires like magically allowing him to see? I assume they are, but I don't know. Like we don't know what that magic is, other than the Night's Queen also has eyes like blue stars. So maybe she's got a similar thing going on. But
Simeon
star eyes. Yeah. Simeon star eyes like blue stars.
Betty Davis eyes.
There you go.
Sorry. It was getting too serious.
No. Like that's a good point. Is that we one know that magical like eye colors are a thing, and two, we know that gems themselves do have magical properties or can have magical properties imbued in them.
So all of Dany's thing when she's in that tent is she just sees a bunch of floating ghosts, and the only thing she knows about them is that they have different gemstone. Are they eyes again? Like,
don't remember actually.
When all the ghosts are dancing around her after the Khal Drogo thing in the first book, she sees like the amethyst in like literally all the different like types of empires we learn from Great Empire of the Dawn. I don't have this in front of me. This is all off the dome. But it's like, it's very reminiscent to these old Great Empire of the Dawn emperors and empresses. It's like they use those stones are what's floating around her. And I always thought of it as like these ancient gods / kings, king gods, kind of bestowing something. But, who knows? Like, that's some crazy, I don't look like David Lightbringer, so I don't have the answers to Great Empire of the Dawn stuff. I do love Primus. It's the only thing I have in common with that guy.
I didn't know he's a Primus guy.
Yeah, he's got a Primus, like little Primus poster in the background. I caught it. Yeah, it's like if you don't know the logo, you won't catch it. Like it's...
Yeah, I don't really. I haven't watched much of his stuff, honestly, but or at least compared to like other, of our peers, our Song of Ice and Fire contemporaries.
You have to pick. Like, there's so much.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm still behind on Preston Jacobs, and like, I'm gonna be honest here. Like, that's one of the 3 channels that, like, were it not for that channel, there would be no Interesting Nerd Club. Preston Jacobs, Alt Shift X, and Glidus. Like, it was literally me and Tom started rewatching some of their stuff, and we're like, oh, we could just talk about this.
You do theory deep dives like Preston Jacobs, but you do it like Glidus and Alt Shift X talking about food.
Yep. All
right,
correct.
Go ahead, Michael. You got a thing.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I gotta say, some of David's theories have probably, like, of the other YouTubers who have like helped me figure out some of my theories. There's like every once in a while he's dropped some nugget of like, oh hey, that's a really good point, and kind of solves some of the issues that I had as I was piecing together how I kind of think the magic works. Like he talked about the essentially the idea of what if the Night's Queen and the Night's King were birthing others using some sort of shadow magic.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I like for years. I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep that as an open possibility in my mind. And then when I kind of figured out all the bodies strapped to the trees are kind of very important, then it's like, oh, hey, wait a minute, you can make shadow babies with that. And then they're kind of Weirwood shadow babies. And that,
you can make shadow babies.
There you go.
I think he follows red herrings too much. I think his takes on squishers. I think I don't think squishers are a thing. I think I'm really weird, and I know I brought this up to Zach before, but I really do think Nimble Dick is just bigoted and racist, and that he's just talking about sistermen. He's like, they got webbed hands and they steal your children. And it's like, it's just, like Irish, just like somebody from over there, but he's just horribly bigoted.
That is possible, but I could also see like George doing the little like 1-2 switcheroo on you, where it's like, oh, he seems like this bigoted moron.
Yeah, you're right.
And then a squisher shows up in the last book and just nabs somebody. You're like, wait a minute now, what happened here?
Hold on a second. Yeah, that seemed an awful lot like the thing I was dismissing earlier.
Right.
Would be the most George R. Martin thing. Also, if it's very Lovecraft inspired, Lovecraft had people like. Lovecraft himself was very, 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 very racist even for the time, but it was just super racist. But Lovecraft worked in elements of like prejudice as part of his like world that he built. That was a huge part of it to him.
I believe Shadow over Innsmouth, the whole point is him actually dealing with the fact that he has non-Aryan. I hate that I have to say crap like this, but non-Aryan blood in him is
his non-human blood, which yes, for if it's a obvious race metaphor and it's aged kind of poorly. I mentioned this in the Interesting Nerd Club server. I was in a stage production of Shadow over Innsmouth.
Oh, really?
And I was cast as a racist fishman, which felt like the truest form to Lovecraft's original vision.
I feel like that's his Stephen King written himself in there moment.
In
the insane thing is the like unpure non-white blood is just Welsh. Like what?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. You got a whole other, racist.
Yeah, they definitely had like a super advanced racism in the past, where like white did not mean white. Like white meant white people from our place with our accent, and that's it.
No, so as someone who's predominantly like Irish, there was a period where that was not good enough.
Yeah. And also Italian. We just became white. Like in the 40s, we weren't. Like it wasn't long ago.
Well, it's everybody in my apartment is Irish to some extent, and also then
everybody.
And then my two roommates are the other part of them is Italian and Mexican. So like we all talk about like how racism used to be versus how it is a lot. George does to like bring it back from the like a harder conversation. George does show all sorts of forms of discrimination, but he does also show people that are like non-human by any definition. And I think like the interesting thing is like if we do see a squisher, are they just like a crazy swamp thing sort of monster? Or will it speak a different language and have its own families and its own society? And it's just, we're being racist against squishers because we don't like the idea of fish people.
Killing kids just to go play with their fisher kids. And then they bring it back like, oh, your parents left. Dang it.
Oh, sorry. In our culture, it's cool to just grab kids for a play date. Is that not a thing you guys do?
Damn land squishers. I tell you.
They're just like, we thought this was cool in your culture, considering we got kicked out of our home by the Iron Men, and all they do is raid and take people. So we just assumed that's what you guys do.
We thought you would all be cool with it. We didn't realize that was just a them thing.
It's like when someone waves to you, you wave back, right?
We got booted out of the Iron Islands, and then we went to the neck, and a bunch of humans who were banging children of the forest started banging us.
Yeah.
And then we were like, ugh, and then we left.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how Chronic Men happened.
Yep. I could definitely see that.
Dang frog people. All right, I got a couple more slides.
Let's get
so
back
this
on
is
that.
just history. So 300 years before Aegon's conquest, the commanders of the Nightfort and Snowgate went to war with each other. That's great. Eventually, both lost their heads to the Stark and Winterfell. That'll happen. At some point, rangers from the Nightfort seal the tunnel of Arson Ice Axe, which we will get to, definitely. With the dwindling of Night's Watch power, the Nightfort had become 3/4 empty and too costly to maintain. Benton Glover escorted Alysanne Targaryen, good Queen Alysanne, from Castle Black to the Nightfort during the Queen's visit to the Wall in 58 AC. Alysanne convinced the Lord Commander Luther Burleigh at the Nightfort, which she found unpleasant, should be abandoned for a new and smaller castle. The new castle, Deep Lake, 7 miles to the east, was paid for by the Queen's jewels. The Nightfort was abandoned during construction of Deep Lake, and its last brothers were then moved over to the Deep Lake. I do love that scene in Fire and Blood where it's like, how are we going to buy a whole castle? And she's like, here, have this necklace. Sure, it'll work.
You could afford it.
Oh, I love Alysanne.
I mean, especially considering their castles don't have to be defended from any of the sides that don't already have a big wall. I'm sure it's not that expensive, right?
So what, you got to build 3 walls?
It's like, let's dig some tunnels and build like a place to live, and then we've got everything.
Yeah, you apparently don't need a brewery and a tennis court or whatever the hell.
The other thing about Queen Alysanne, her visit there is she describes, this is not super deep. She just describes it as really big. She talks about how everyone's dwarfed by it. So like that is the one way we know like it is actually a giant place. Like when you're in the hall, you feel like a tiny little mouse, basically, is how she describes it. So it's scary and very big.
Yes.
Scary and very big. I mean, that's exactly how Bran pretty much like they hang out like they find a 1-room kitchen and they're like, yeah, screw going anywhere else.
Yep. They explore a little bit and it's all just creepy. And they're like, yeah, let's just stay in the Rat Cook's kitchen. That's the least terrifying place we can camp.
The Rat Cook's kitchen with the whispering well. It's the least scary thing.
Yep.
Oh, man. Hey, when you say Hodor in this, it says Hodor back.
The well definitely does. I'm sure it's echoing, but George always describes it as the well talking back. Does it? Like he words it that way.
Which also could be a time travel thing. This is this is something Tom talks about a lot. Is there's like Bran seems so tied to the Nightfort, and there's a thought that maybe that is his like nightmare domain sort of thing, right? Like he himself may have created the Nightfort, and that he might be more powerful there, and it might be like his evil lair. I'm more of a fan of a evil Bran. Of course, my belief with time traveling Bran is that Bran does not realize he's playing a chess game against himself, sort of thing.
Yeah,
like a future Bran. The Bran right now is fighting a great other that is an older Bran who regrets his past actions, but knows that through like time travel, he can get into a fight with himself. There's some weird time traveling Bran things in the Nightfort.
I like that.
Yes.
So I think this is a good time to bring this up, is when I think there's some time shenanigans when Hodor picks up the slate right next to the well and tosses it down, and Bran's like, no, Hodor, don't. And then it's described as though it's not a splash, and then it's like a gulp, like the stone was swallowed. But then Bran says he heard something thrashing about in the water moving. And I think I shared this with Taco, what I think happened, but I don't think I've shared this with Zach since you brought up the time travel thing. I think that there was just like a monster down at the bottom of that well, sort of like alluding to like Tolkien, where there was the Watcher in the water outside of Moria, right? And I think what happened is time traveling Bran warged into Hodor to toss a stone down there and knock it the heck out, or it would have like eaten Sam and Gilly on their way through. And then that's why Hodor's like quickly just casually tossing a stone down there.
This is the first message about how Michael looks. That's such a
Yeah.
surprise. All right, sorry to interrupt. You're
No,
actually
okay.
saying important stuff, and I'm like, yeah, he's got long hair.
No, I was just saying though, like, I think that is like a thing that we'll never have confirmed, but that's my headcanon, is like someone, either future Bran or someone, warged into Hodor and then tossed the stone down there, because if he hadn't done that, the monster eats them all, and that timeline's no good. So that was the point.
Yeah, this thing's the entire chapter is
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it tracks like to me, is the Watcher in the water gets knocked out by Hodor so that they can quickly sneak through.
That
And
makes
that's
sense.
the thrashing. Yeah.
I do have a different time travel theory, and then I want to do the next slide. I'm pretty sure time traveling horse Tyrek Lannister went back in time and founded House Bracken. Figure that out.
I can see it. I can see it.
And also, I just filmed my video for Melee the Monstrous. He also traveled back in time to help Daemon Blackfire, and then Melee's, knowing the threat of Tyrek Lannister, punched him and killed him with one punch.
That
time traveling one punch man.
Yeah.
Time traveling one punch Melee's. Well, he wasn't time traveling, but he was killing the evil time traveling horse, Tyrek Bracken. All right. So this next slide is just what we actually see from the Nightfort in the book. So this isn't crazy World of Ice and Fire lore stuff. So time in the books, Bran, Hodor, and the Reeds arrive at the Nightfort to go beyond the wall. Bran, remembering old Nan's stories, is frightened by the ruins, of course, but Jojen, little grandfather himself, reassures him that it's not dangerous. Mira climbs the ice steps to look up top the wall, which who wouldn't do that? Meanwhile, Cold Hands leads Samwell Tarly and Gilly to the creepy black gate, which Sam opens by saying the vows. Sam and Gilly pass through the black gate to cross the wall, but Cold Hands cannot enter the gate. Climbing the stepped well, Sam surprises Bran and his friends in the kitchen. Sam recognizes Bran as being Jon Snow's brother, which is a crazy long shot. I can't believe that, but all right. But agrees to keep the boys secret. Sam opens the black gate so Bran and his companions can cross the wall to meet Cold Hands. Following the battle beneath the wall, so skipping, Stannis Baratheon tells Sam he intends to make the Nightfort his wartime seat, and Jon Snow, the new Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, gives the Nightfort to Stannis after he demands it as a payment for assisting them with the wildling attack on the wall. After Jon cedes the Nightfort to Stannis, it is discovered that it will take half a year to make it fit for habitation. Thank you. Disliking Eastwatch by the Sea, Queen Selyse Florent arrive at Castle Black on their way to occupy the Nightfort. Othel Yarwick, best name ever, and his builders are sent by Jon to restore the castle. Now you guys talk for a minute.
So yeah, I want to jump in. Actually, this brushes into another famous, interesting Nerd Club theory about the Nightfort, because we have several. We love the Nightfort over on that channel. It is that the conditions of winter will lead to some serious issues there, and that the Nightfort will have cannibalism. Very specifically, Dolorous Ed keeps talking about eating people. He talks about Dolorous Ed, rather. I never pronounce his name right. Dolorous Ed is so into eating people. He really just can't stop talking about it. It's really concerning.
But it's also really funny. He is the best comedian on the night.
He is very, very funny. I love him. He's one of my favorite characters. He might also eat somebody. It should not be shocking if he eats somebody, because it's been foreshadowed so much. And the also thing is the gate there with a face. The
Black Gate, which I have I have a whole slide on the Black Gate still.
Yes. There's a thought that could be used in like a weird Lord of the Flies, like sort of worship kind of way. Okay. And that they could feed people to it also. I think Tom was reading Lord of the Flies and Song of Ice and Fire at the same time and writing this theory. But it does kind of track. And I love that idea a lot. It'd be gross and fucked up, but I would love. I don't know if we get a point of view character there, but we get like one chapter of people being dropped off at the Nightfort, and another when somebody comes back to be like, "Oh my god, what have you guys been doing to each other?"
Yeah, I could see it.
I've always liked it being there by the Night King using it to, like it's his Craster's baby sacrifice area, right? That is if we're following the idea that Craster's babies are actually being made into White Walkers, which is just a show thing as far as we know. We don't really know, but we know that he's giving them to the old gods. So, or at least according to him, his gods, whatever that means. But I always thought of like the Black Gate of, only the Watchers on the Wall can do it. But at that time, those Watchers were the Night's King's guys, and they're all crazy. So they're sacrificing babies that way is what I was trying to say.
I would agree with that, because there is like this whole like commonly referred to thing where if you don't want a baby, you throw it down a well, and the gate is at the bottom of a well. So if you just take the baby, he's like, yeah, I'm just taking the baby to the bottom of the well. That's where you go with babies. But then he secretly sneaks out the gate and leaves it in the north. And also, we don't know for sure that Craster's babies are being turned into others, but we do know that one of his oldest wives refers to the things that come as Craster's sons or the boys' brothers. Yeah,
you are
that's
right.
in both. That's show and book. So that's the only real confirmation we have.
I'm gonna cover some chat stuff here. Is the gate sentient or just voice activated? It does move as if it talks. It's not like a disembodied voice, so maybe. I always think of it as I'm gonna go different nerdy here, but I think of it as the Dark Brotherhood doors in Elder Scrolls. Of like, what is the silence of the night or whatever, and you have to be like, blood in your face, brother, and then it's like enter. I really think of it being that, so not quite sentient, more voice activated.
Yeah, I could see it going either way, to be honest. I don't think we have enough to know just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up like being sentient. But I think we can only confirm so far that it's voice activated. I don't think we've seen it like.
We also don't know of anything else that's very much voice activated that's not sentient or highly magical.
That's a good point, yeah.
And we also, I'm not convinced there's any magic in A Song of Ice and Fire that isn't an extension of something living. Even the House of the Undying, having re-listened to that chapter very recently, it feels very much like the house is alive. It really does. It feels like it's trying to consume you, which incidentally is what that gate might do to somebody also.
Michael bringing up the Undying in I think your last video or 2 videos ago. Yeah. I never realized how old Gotti that freaking place is. Like it feels like
it parallels the Nightfort.
Karth? Yeah, it's so Nightfort, so old Gotti, like whispering
rats in the walls.
And,
there's rats in the walls. There's the different like shady Weirwood looking trees. Like they're different colored, but there's creepy trees outside. There's the hall awash in gloom. Sounds very Nightforty when she gets into the actual room. Yeah.
Do we know for a fact that those trees are Shade of the Evening trees, or is that a fan theory that I've just swallowed?
No, that's what I think. That's generally pretty strongly implied that they make the shade from those trees if it's not directly said, because the leaves are color matched. Yeah, and like
it just makes me think of like a different brand of Weirwood paste. Like, that's dark Weirwood, and this is dark Weirwood paste.
Right,
we drink it and we get fucked up.
Yep. And as Zach said, like it's all the magic seems to be based on life magic, and I think the entire House of the Undying is powered by those blue shadows that are kept in the central chamber there, bound to life, so that they can constantly be sapped off of as a power source. And I think that's kind of what's powering the whole thing. So that's why when Danny burns them, like the magic stuff's working.
So Danny is said that it is made from that.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't know for sure, but I thought it was either confirmed or strongly hinted.
I am like in my head, I watch your videos and Glidus's and Company of the Cats and Mira's and everybody's videos every time they come out. And I redo the books like once every 2 years. So it's like 10% book, 90% other people's thoughts on the book. So you gotta forget what is what.
That's
I'm on my second listen through ever right now. So dude, for as much as I talk about it, I have not read the books religiously.
So crazy.
Same. I've read them a couple times, but it's like most of my interaction with the books has also been just like 10 years of reading or listening to theories and then trying to be like, okay, that makes sense. That doesn't. I kind of like this. I kind of like that. And then eventually I reached like a point where I'm like, oh, hey, wait a minute. I kind of have like a general, like actual opinion on how all this works now. But a lot of it comes from hearing other good theories. And checking.
People are good at citing their sources.
Yeah. I'm very slowly going through them again because somebody was in the chat here, hooked me up with some audiobooks, and I've been like very slowly I'm caught up on YouTube, which very rarely happens. I'm subscribed to so much, but I'll do it every once in a while. And I haven't listened to them with the old school audiobooks since like probably the first time, and I've just had David Reed's A Song of Ice and Fire voices in my head. So no offense, everyone hates it when I talk crap. I'm not talking crap. It's just I want to hear different accents, for once. People are like, he's a gem. He is a gem. But Long Island Brienne is still an odd choice. and it was his choice to make. Looking for a mate of 2 and 10 with eye boy in head.
I couldn't do enough voices for these books, so I can't complain about anyone who.
It is inspired. Southern Belle Reach is inspired.
Yeah,
it fits because the France Southern Belle parallel.
My word, right and left are gonna have to give you some of my lemon cakes. Like it's totally.
Marjorie would definitely be a Southern Belle. I could see that.
And then one person. This is a long time ago when they put this up. Like 5 minutes ago, so not a long time ago, but it does fit with some of the stuff you're talking about of nope, that's not it. Sorry, I didn't go far back enough. Here we go. The cave with the children that Bran goes into is just an outpost close to the surface for talking to humans. But there's a massive population in like an under city.
I could see that because the caves are insanely deep and implied to connect all across Westeros, and the children of the forest have apparently lived there for 1 million years, is what she says, 1,000 of your man years. So it's like, oh, they've probably got like a pretty good knowledge of these caves, and there's cave fish down there they can eat. I think they can grow like funguses probably. Whoa. To sustain
there might be like a full-on like Drow D&D Underdark that we don't know about, like full-on like Hollow Earth shit going on.
Plus the wells being connected to some sort of underground world. Michael, I think you submitted that one to our channel.
Yep, that was like a year ago or more now, and I was like, well, I was just sort of getting back into like trying to figure out my theory because I had kind of hit a roadblock before I figured out how I think the wall is built. And all I had was like, what the heck is going on with these wells and why are they throwing so many babies down there? And that's where the children of the forest live. So I just took like a 5-year-old or 4-year-old, whatever it was, document from whenever I put out a few videos on my channel and then just stopped. I stopped because I hit this wall and I just took my notes that I had together. I'm like, I'm going to put these in bullet points and send them to the Interesting Nerd Club. This will make a good video.
And then you guys, is that what you guys made your throwing babies into wells video?
That's what we call peer review.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It was the Wells of Westeros episode of the Interesting Nerd Club. Is just my notes from like 4 years ago where I hit the wall in my theory. And then my entire series now is after I figured that like last few bits out, and like it became a whole theory then.
That is the best thing about knowing each other. Is the like, hey, is this stupid?
I never thought babies getting thrown in wells gets mentioned a lot, and I never sat down and processed. That's just fucking weird. That's not real life advice. No point in my real life did anybody say, "Oh, you don't want a baby? There's a well right there."
Yeah, we do the firehouse. You think my daughter's my first kid? Come on.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's like that your water supply is not the place. Like, there are places. That ain't it.
We only put what's her name? Mara Heatherspoon. Who's the
Mara.
the girl that Cersei just murks.
Yes.
Yeah. I think about that a lot. Yeah, it's strange that she gets pushed down a well, but it's also like I submitted this as a donation to a Fantasy Haven stream once. It's such a strange turn for Cersei's characterization, because she was super sympathetic. I'm re-listening to the earlier books. Yeah. Like, you understand how she gets there from being a normal person, and how her bitter, cynical worldview was beaten into her by years and years of misogyny that she had to experience, and the lack of agency.
Crap.
Yeah. And then when you find out she was murdering kids as a kid herself, it's Robert, maybe you weren't as bad as I thought. From her, if she is fondly remembering murdering a child, maybe I shouldn't trust her judgment on how bad of a person you were.
Not only that, but her memories are so cold. They're whatever happened to Heatherspoon? Oh yeah. Man, she screams so loud in that well. Ugh. All right, moving on.
She screamed so loud and then was silent or something creepy like that. It says.
She thinks about it like Michael Myers thinking about his sister. It's super mess.
And it's only for the fact that she heard the prophecy. The fact that she was a witness to the thing.
That in Heatherspoon asked, "Will I marry Janie?" And I thought there was a jealousy there.
That. Yes, I forgot
that's
that.
My twin brother.
That's exactly.
I forgot that part of it. I
saw him first.
Yeah, okay.
In utero.
If I had a nickel for every time I enjoyed a piece of media where a woman murdered one of her childhood friends for having a crush on her brother, who she also had a crush on, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
All right, I want to. There's actually a lot here, but I don't want to continue going down. I do want my last Cersei thing is. When you go through the first book knowing that they had nothing to do with either killing Jon Arryn or hurting Bran at all, it completely changes that first book where it's Ned just is manipulated and starts a war.
Yeah.
Nothing. The Lannisters, I'm not going to go so far to say the Lannisters did nothing wrong, because Tywin is one of the most evil people to his son ever. Just the Tysha stuff is next level. Are you kidding me? But so I'm not gonna go pretend that they're good people, but they don't start the War of the Five Kings the Starks do. 100%. That's not up to interpretation.
To clarify what you said, they do harm Bran. They didn't try to kill him. They didn't.
Oh yeah. All right. So they don't send the dagger. Is what I'm getting at.
I got what you meant.
They push him out the window. He attempted to kill him, not real kill him.
Right.
It's a little paralysis here and there.
Yeah, exactly.
But Bran's better off for it.
Yeah, well, Bran
got superpowers.
Bran probably made it happen if time traveling Bran is a thing, because the crows were calling him up there. It was all set up. When you read that back, assuming time traveling Bran, it's Absolutely. Oh, Bran did this to himself.
Well, then he goes through the rookery and they're like, jump!
Yeah, basically, yeah.
What the? All right, let's talk about, do we want to talk about the Night King? So I got 2 left, and this isn't in order anymore, so I got Night's King and Blackgate. Do we want to keep with Blackgate because we already kind of talked about it?
Yeah, 100%.
And then we move to the Night's King? All right, and then we got all the crazy freaking conspiracy theory whiteboard stuff Michael said.
I sent some slides, yeah.
I'm very excited.
Mine are PowerPoints. They look almost like they're put together. I mean, they're rushed. I don't spend a lot of time. Yours looks like Charlie Day in front of the one.
Mine are screenshots of the wiki with text dispersed in the middle, pointing at things.
How did you email me thumbtacks with string on them?
Yes.
All right, the Black Gate. So the magical Black Gate is a hidden subterranean gate that allows passage to the other side of the wall, and it is as old as the wall itself. Holy crap. It is set deep in the wall in a wall of the well. Okay, wall of the well of the center of the kitchen, and it is made of white weirwood and a face on it. The face is old, pale, shrunken, and wrinkled with white eyes, and the door glows. All right. When someone approaches the gate, opens its eyes, they are white and blind, and the door asks, "Who are you?" The man of the night's watch must repeat part of his vows. I'm the watcher of the wall. I'm the fire that burns against the cold, the light that brings the dawn, the horn that wakes the sleepers. I am the shield that guards the realms of men. The door opens, then saying, "Then pass." The door's lips open wider and wider until there is nothing that remains besides a great gaping mouth in a ring of wrinkles. So you remember those door missions in Fables?
Oh,
No?
wow. Goodness, you're taking me back to Fable. Yes, I do.
Yeah, they're the door missions. That's all this
I completely I played through the first Fable. I never played the other ones.
It's the side quest brand. You don't even have to do it.
One thing about that passage that brought me back to a question that was asked before, it clearly isn't voice activated. Then it might be proximity, like motion activated, because it opens the eyes and asks first, "Who are you?"
Absolutely.
So that is interesting. That probably points more towards sentience than a motion detector in the well, but you never know, I guess.
Yeah, they don't look over to the side and see what's looking at them over here to motion the electrical door at target.
Yeah,
that it is.
Yeah.
It's just a motion sensitive door with a really old phonograph voice recording.
Yeah,
it's done.
Yep.
So
Walmart doors with Westerosi technology. Basically.
You know what else? Thinking the Clue phonograph.
Yeah.
Man, everyone's just we're not putting up a lot of you guys in chat because we're covering so much stuff, but you guys are killing it. Like bringing up that Ghost does straight up attack Tyrion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's weird to me too. That's always been kind of a weird one.
Well, I mean, look, like
there's so much weird stuff with Tyrion when they're trying to figure out his character. Like George took a while.
His weird tumbles.
Yeah. Yes.
His tumbles. Him getting Ghost attacking him. And even then, he really people like to say that Clash is the worst book, and I get where that's coming from. It is the book where he finally figured out Tyrion. It is the book where Tyrion becomes the character we know and love him to be.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, his characterization is rather different, and we get I honestly every Lannister by 2 or 3 books in is a completely different character than they were in book 1. Except for Tywin. Tywin's been a magnificent bastard since day 1.
Feast is like Jaime and Cersei's magnum opus. Feast is so good for Lannister, and I hate that book gets a bad rep. I think Feast is so good. It's probably number 2 for me, honestly. I think it's right behind Storms. And it's definitely above Dance for me, but
yeah, they're so tough to rank for me. It is really tough. My mind changes all the time. I kind of think I have Feast and Dance as the last 2, but they're both still so good that it's tough to say
chapters, Cersei chapters.
Yeah, I know. I think once we have wins, Feast and Dance might look better because you'll get the payoff for the things.
Yeah,
it's the Storms for them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, imagine if we just had freaking Thrones in Clash.
Yeah,
they would be great. Storms makes them great.
Yeah.
Also, back to the Ghost attacking Tyrion thing. Is that because originally George had a love triangle plan with Jon, Tyrion, and Arya?
Yep.
That's got to
be. That's where I was going with it. Is jealousy protection sort of thing, right?
Right.
If you have this psychic connection with your wolves, your jealousy is going to come off through your animal.
And it's future jealousy, like coming back in time, being like, hey, in the future, you guys are going to be really mad about who gets to date Arya, so Ghost is mad.
Yeah.
Thank God the editor, editors do God's work sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, the garden.
Can you take the 9-year-old out of the love triangle? Is it weird? It's really weird. All right, taking her out.
The garden.
Well, that was when there's going to be a time skip, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
The garden growing in a different direction there was probably helpful.
Yes.
George replaced that plant with a different plant, and the garden looks a little nicer for it.
Tyrion becoming a complete monster in Dance. Reread it, Dance, forgetting that you're supposed to like Tyrion, because there's nothing to like. Like, he is living off of Clash love that entire book, because he is not likable. He is a monster in that whole book. And we just are supposed to like him because we fell in love with him already. But if you didn't read, if you started off with those two, which would be really confusing, but if you somehow did, you would never think Tyrion's a good guy. Like, the first thing he does is freaking assaults one of Illyrio's bedmaids. Like, it's brutal.
Yeah, terrible. It's all like the character we knew him to be in Clash and all that. And I think that's gonna be true. Like, if we're gonna push it towards the Nightfort, there's a lot of people at the Wall who can. I might be in the process of becoming monsters. I mentioned like Dolores said, eating people, but like Jon is like gonna be potentially, as undead as he's becoming like potentially as undead as Beric Dondarrion was, or Catelyn Stark is as Lady Stoneheart. Maybe not that far on the spectrum, but maybe not as far off as we'd like to think.
The other thing is he could become half wolf mentally. Like, he might merge mentally with Ghost and then like go back into his own body and be so cool. Really aggressive, like angry, violent Jon, which would
Alpha.
Be,
like literally alpha wolf. Like, I'm going to bite you so you can listen to me. Okay. Some crazy stuff like, hey, that blanket, I peed on it. It's mine now.
Yeah.
All right.
I am really interested to see how George handles like that mind meld that is implied, like it'll probably happen.
One of the most anticipated things for me is, okay, how do you get out of this? Right. Like, I can't wait. All right, we got my last slide, and then we can actually start the stream. So this is just my stuff on the Night's King. So, Night's King, also called the Night's King. All right, you guys got that? All right. Is a legendary Lord Commander of the Night's Watch who lived during the Age of Heroes. His given name is unknown. Night's King may be a Bolton, Woodfoot, an Umber, a Flint, a Nori, or even a Stark, depending on where the tale is told and who tells it. The Night's King is said to have said to be a fearless warrior and sorcerer. All right, it's a cleric. All right. According to legend, Night's King lived during the Age of Heroes and not long after the Wall was completed. While serving the 13th Lord as 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, he fell in love with a woman who he saw from the top of the wall. The woman had skin white as the moon and eyes like blue stars, and her skin was cold as ice, willing to
willing to sacrifice some babies.
There you go. Willing to sacrifice our young.
There you go.
There we go.
We got it.
We got it.
We'll move on. We figured it out. But the Night's King was fearless and chased and caught and loved her. He chased and loved her. Sorry. He was fearless and he chased and caught and loved her. Too many ands. And when he gave his seed to her, I should have added that one. He gave his soul as well. Been there. Night's King brought the woman.
Yeah, same.
Night King brought the woman to the Nightfort and declared her as queen, and himself as king. With strange sorcery, he bound the Knight's brothers to his will, and ruled the Nightfort as his own castle for 13 years with this corpse queen at his side. I'm almost done, guys. During the dark years of his reign, horrific atrocities were committed, of which tales are still told in the north. It It was not until Brandon the Breaker, the king of the north, and Jormund, the king beyond the wall, joined forces, and the Night's King was brought down, and the Night's Watch freed. After his fall, it was discovered that the Night's King had been making sacrifices to the others. All records of him were destroyed, and his very name is forbidden and forgotten. Everybody else talk now.
So, we have a fun theory. So we talk about him a good deal over at the Interesting Nerd Club. Love this character. Love the lore implications. The thing that I think love the most about this character is trying to find somebody else who could be a parallel for in the story, because you don't write something this exhaustively detailed if it's not coming back, right? Like either the character himself needs to appear, or somebody needs to fill this role. And a lot of people talk about Stannis, but we did a video called the Where is Benjen Stark duel, and this is my answer for where Benjen is. He talks a lot about what Jon is giving up by joining the Night's Watch, and a lot of people think, oh, he knows that he's a Targaryen, that he could be a king, but he could also talk about not being. He says that right after Jon says he doesn't plan to take a wife, and he's like, you don't know what you're giving up. Maybe Benjen's in love with another. Maybe he is going to be the next Night King, and that's where he is.
You want to know about the women that we have to settle for up there, man?
Zach, I think I can actually add a little bit to that theory, because in a recent video I don't know if you watched the one about Craster's babies and what might be going on with them in the books, but essentially, all right, so if the idea is the others could be Weirwood shadows, and you have to strap someone up to a Weirwood and then do shadow baby magic, which is sex magic, Benjen disappearing north of the wall as a male could be strapped up to a Weirwood tree being used to birth shadows by some Night's Queen-like figure. So yeah, he could. I forgot about your guys' theory about that until after I had already made that video, but I should have mentioned it. Benjen could be basically out there banging the Night's Queen, making others.
Yeah, that was something that we did talk about, was he's transfixed, he's mind controlled, he is not realizing he is being used, sort of thing. It's very creepy and gross and George R. Martin-y, so that's why I buy it.
So my brain did a brain thing. So let's go back to the names. Woodfoot's possible kings of Bear Island, but they were on Bear Island. They're the only ones that aren't I had to bring those guys up specifically because they're the only ones that we don't know straight up. I just did a video for Woodfoot, but when I did my exiled stuff, but anyway, or extinct houses. But anyways, besides Woodfoot, which we're not sure were kings, all of the other names for the Night's King that he could be are old, not only old first men, but old kings. Umbers were kings, Boltons were kings, Norries were kings. Literally, these guys are old kings, and Benjen Stark's a freaking Stark. Maybe there's a reason why these freaking white ladies, these dang white ladies,
old white ladies,
old white women, are specifically going after these magical blood first king, because for some reason, as much as I hate the idea that royalty makes you important, because I'm an anarchist and I don't believe that shit, but as much as I hate the king's blood thing, because I think it's just something kings made up to keep everybody else down, but as much as I hate that king's blood thing, it is constantly stated how important king's blood is. So not only that, but it's also first man, magical. There's something special going on with the old wargy kings of the north, especially Boltons with skin stealing and all this crap. There's got to be a reason why, of all the people who disappear, it's Benjen. He doesn't. We don't find his body. We find everybody else. They get sent back. He doesn't.
Yes, they seem to be doing something different with him, assuming they taught him. And I like the idea of using him to birth others as well, like, or something like that.
You perverted bastard. Like the idea of him just getting trained by a bunch of white ladies.
I definitely, I did have one slide in that where I was suggesting possibly, and I don't know if I believe this, but I think it's like one of those maybe, you know, it's worth talking about. If Bloodraven ended up north of the wall, could Shiera Seastar have ended up north of the wall doing the birthing of the others? And in my slide, for reasons that Shiera makes sense for this, one of the bullet points was I would let her strap me to a tree.
No, for real.
I've always been partial to the Shiera Seastar is old man theory, but I like that one also. That's pretty good.
What's the artist for the picture that everybody knows for CRC Star? It's the guy with the A that does like all of it. Does so much, but here I'll find it really quick. Because
Amok.
Yeah,
Amok.
Amok.
Yeah, Amok.
Amok did just. There's no reason to somehow draw one Targaryen that we have no real description of besides her being hot, that much hotter than all the other Targaryen ladies that all we know is that they're hot. Like at that era, it's like, you know, Fire and Blood Volume 2 stuff, so we don't know a lot. But there's a lot of like, you know, Diana the Defiant, and there's like Alysanne Targaryen, all these other Targaryens, and he's like, Sarah Seastar, I'm gonna make like an 11. It's like,
to be fair, she was hot enough. The multiple wars were kind of fought implicitly over her, at the very least, partially.
Yeah. It's like, freaking 2 conversations are going on at the same time, and Darren's like, "It's my kingdom. I'm going to defend it," and Daemon's like, "It's my kingdom. I'm gonna take it." And then Aegor and Brennan at the same time go, "Yeah. And I want to bang my sister," and the other one's
That's not what we're arguing about right now, actually. We're talking about something completely different. Can you two stop talking about wanting to bang your sister?
There's like, no, but if you win, I get to bang her, right? And if he wins, he gets to. So we're making this a thing.
Okay, you know what? Fine. I guess this is technically a productive part of the conversation now somehow.
Yeah. Also, when I made that video, I pulled up like the wiki to get my like Shiera like screenshot just to give like the details about her life.
Helen of Troy.
And the wiki was down, so it gave me the archived version on the internet, and the picture didn't load. I'm like, I can't cover Shiera without the picture, so I have like the non-loaded picture, and then I made the slide longer so that I could put the picture on the side and be like, we can't talk about Shiera without the picture. You need the picture to understand what we're talking about here.
She's super hot, guys.
Yeah.
Amok was like, all right, man, what am I into? Gigantic Sierras and she needs huge sea stars. That's what I should have.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
We are done with my prepared slides. So you got Niter at the Nightfort you want to talk about? You got
people were asking. People were asking about the Niter at the Nightfort in the last stream where this was like talked about and sort of requested. So we could do the couple Niter slides.
All right, we got 2 Niter slides. So I'm not gonna have to talk. I'm just gonna sit back and drink my furious.
All right, I'll cover these ones.
Yeah. All right. Boom. Let me know when you want your second one.
Okay, so the walls of the well are damp and covered with niter, which originally when I like heard this, I was a little bit like, okay, that seems weird because niter is said to break down in water, and maybe it's just white and Bran is wrong about it being niter. But I've since learned, thanks to comments on my video, that niter is naturally present in sap. And so if there was sap and water leaking out of this thing, it would actually probably leave deposits of niter. So I think this is just another big hint that this entire well is actually a big tree. Because, you know, if you make maple syrup and you end up with a bunch of niter, and this thing is leaking sap or water and you end up with a bunch of niter, that just seems tree-like to me. So that's the main point of this slide.
All right,
and
then Nightfort 2.
And then the other thing that people were very much questioning then is, okay, well, niter is used in gunpowder and explosives and such. So how flammable and explosive is this entire well if it's full of niter. It's basically a giant barrel full of niter. Is this like a giant like gun that could launch something into space if you just lit all that niter up, right? And basically what I found is what it says here. It's not actually on its own combustible. So you need to have it essentially burning with something else. And so basically, from what I've gathered, is the niter is probably not going to like accidentally just all go boom. Like I imagine they might have carried a torch down into it. I don't know. It doesn't say that, but like when you go down into a deep, dark well, you know, you assume they're lighting it and looking that way somehow, but maybe they didn't have a torch. I don't know. But in either case, right, I don't think it's necessarily going to accidentally blow up. But maybe if Melisandre is into burning weirwoods and actually tries to burn this giant weirwood, it could all explode along with the wood that's burning.
Destroy the wall, essentially.
Yeah, and as I said at the bottom, I am not a scientist nor an explosive expert, so take that all with a grain of salt.
I want to get up to something that Mike Boy said a minute ago, but I want you to clarify. It's a brand chapter. How does he know what it is, though? Is that do you mean the well?
Yeah.
He doesn't.
The niter. I do. That was the thing that I questioned first. Is like, is Bran even? I think he's talking about the niter. And if he is, because that's a thought that
it was a minute ago, so it was when you were reading him.
Yeah, that was a thought that I had too. Is I'm like, how does Bran even know what this is? And my thought was like, maybe it's just like weirwood, like growing through the walls, right? Like if the weirwood's ever expanding and like there used to be all these stones here, but it's just kind of been eaten by the weirwood regrowing over, you know, hundreds of years. Maybe it wasn't niter. Maybe it's like weirwood bark poking through like the pores in the stone. But also, now that I know niter comes from sap, I'm more inclined to be like, oh, maybe it's actually niter because, you know, it's a big hollowed out tree. If that is what it is, that would also explain why there'd be niter. So that was something I thought about, but I don't know. It could just, Bran might just actually be right. I don't know how he knows what niter looks like, but, you know, if that is what he's asking.
There is like one or two times, like not that often. There's more than that, but the books are really big where I'm like, I don't think the POV should know that. And it's more like in the first couple books because I've attempted to write and I'm currently working on a novel. It's been a little while, so I need to get back to it. But I've realized like, oh, in the first couple books, you need to say lore. Like first few chapters, you need to build the world. But if you're building the world, everything through POVs who are actually just going through their days, isn't it weird that Joe Blow is like, we're going into this town. This town was founded 400 years ago when blah, blah, blah happened. Yeah. It's like, why would Mike be thinking about that right now? You know, like,
yeah, you need to like find little ways to.
As you know, Bob, this place was haunted. Yeah.
You know what I love about ancient history of this era? What? Of this area? Tell me, Frank.
That's why you need a character who is a fish out of water or an idiot.
Yeah. Or the lore dude who just every time he walks up or something, he's like, "You guys want to know how this bridge got made? Shut up, Frank. No one cares."
Right, the nerd, just the super nerd that's following them around for no reason.
The reason they call it Nugget Bridge is there's a guy on the other side of it who gives you a nugget after you fight all the trainers on it. Thanks.
Yeah, yes.
It's a Pokemon reference.
Good reference, yes.
All right, you got Nightfort quotes. You got Arson and the Mad Axe thing that came in the night. People on the wall, and
let's bang out the Nightfort quotes one. That one I think I kind of covered the main thing already. I just wanted to point out how Alysanne mentions it's huge that men seem dwarfed by it, and that there's a darkness there, a taste in the air. I was so glad to leave that place. That to me, it lines up so well with Bran being just super terrified
by it.
Yeah, and like everything that happens at the Nightfort, I kind of feel like on some level could be explained if there are others strapped to the tree in the wall there, causing all the fear and causing everyone to go crazy. Because like living in a place that constantly terrifies you is a pretty good way to go crazy. And not to even get into like the fact that maybe there's some mental magic that goes along with it. Like if you sleep on a weirwood stump, sometimes you get a prophetic dream.
You dream about being naked with your crush in the basement of your home castle killing zombies.
And so if you sleep in a giant fortress that's built into a wall next to a big Weirwood, maybe there is some like
But when you
mental
sleep
stuff that happens.
inside the Weirwood stuff, real shit goes down.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Okay, I do have something to bring up from that, but I had now I'm forgetting it. I had one other thing. There is a real world almost explanation for Bran being freaked out, and that's old Nan told him that he will be freaked out. Like he gave him when my grandpa told me about the monsters in the woods, because my grandpa was just a creepy dude, and he's like, there's witches that will cut your throats. We all believed it, and we would hear noises that we were sure were Snarts and Grumpkins. So when you're 10, or whatever Bran is, 11 maybe at this point, you're gonna think the random noise that the house makes is a Snark or a Grumpkin, because your grandpa.
And I do agree with that. The one thing that actually though made it stand out to me more is the fact that old Nan told him stories about everything else in that kitchen, right? The rat hooks ovens, the meat hooks. Like he should be more scared of everything else, but he likes the well the least. Yeah. So it's like, that's the part to me where I'm like, oh, he should be scared of everything else, but he's most scared of this thing.
What about the things that come in the night? Shut up, that well's freaking me out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yes. It's like Bran, should we sleep over there or should we sleep by this well? He's like, no. But meanwhile, the other option is like, well, you want to sleep closer to the rat cook's oven, Bran?
There's only rats. Dollarset also eats rats. That's a whole other thing I got about cannibalism, because Dollarset either talks about cannibalism or rats, and rats are cannibals. In the wall. I'm not making him a broad generalization about all rats. Okay, I meant these ones specifically. Don't go all crazy on me. But I was gonna ask you a question. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit.
Yeah.
Just for Zach to know, when I first started watching Michael's stuff, I was like, well, this dude's crazy. Like, I don't believe any of this crap. And I was like, but he seems like a nice dude. I bet he's got the best mustache in town. And I was right on that. So
this is not what I was expecting. In terms
no
of
one expected.
So I've seen very few people who can rock a Fu Manchu. I'm jealous. I've tried and failed. So massive respect.
I'm expecting 1990s Russ Cole and True Detective. I get 2012 alcoholic Russ Cole. You look like Matthew McConaughey during his bad years. I'm just.
There are no bad years for Matthew McConaughey. There are just years where we lost faith in him.
I'll take Matthew McConaughey on a bad day. I will take
you got time is a flat circle, Matthew McConaughey, not Gold Rush Matthew McConaughey. Anyway, so what I was talking about, or Fool's Gold, there we go. So I was getting to being so the point I was trying to make was the more I watch his stuff, the more sense he makes. So I just commented on one of Michael's videos like not too long ago, where I was like, dude, 5 videos from now, like I started as a skeptic, now you're starting to make sense. And in like 5 videos, I'm going to be like building the stronghold in Texas for all of us to move to. Like it's a very like I feel like I'm being indoctrinated when I read his shit, because it's starting to make more and more sense.
I have a similar sort of feeling where, like, when you give the 2-sentence version of it, it feels like it's like the Charlie Day standing in front of the like conspiracy board he made. It's Always Sunny. But when you like break it down, like it's built on some solid logic, and when you like look at the things that George like brings extra attention to, that like he like the Nighter specifically, like it's brought up, it's given a lot of attention. It is very specific to that chapter. Why bring it up if it's not important? And like it's one of the things that's unique about that location. Yeah. So it makes a ton of sense.
So devil's advocate.
Yes.
Is it the Nightfort specifically that is more Weirwoody, because we have a POV character who has spent a lot of his chapters sleeping in the wall. And the only time I actually think his dreams are pathetic is when the magical giant raven lands on him.
Right. So
I followed that of his Jon Snow's Azor Ahai dream becomes an Azor Ahai dream after the bird lands on his chest. It starts as a normal dream and then it gets crazy pathetic. So I don't want to say the white or the fact he's in the wall is the source of that pathetic dream. So why isn't everybody getting these crazy Weirwood stuff and just why here?
What I think is I don't because some people, this was my initial thought. Like when I first realized I think there's probably Weirwoods in the wall, my first thought is like, oh, I bet each castle is built on one. After thinking about it, I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think it might be a big line of Weirwoods, but basically at the Nightfort, the reason the effect seems so enhanced is because the Nightfort might have actually just been built like directly next to one of these things. And if there is a situation where basically when the Night King fell, they took him and his sworn brothers who all rebelled and they just strapped them up to the Weirwood as punishment and encased them in the wall, sort of like the 79 Sentinels or Arson Ice Axe. Well, then this is the place where all the bodies are. This is the one castle that might be built directly on top of it because it's the oldest one. Yeah. So it's like they built this one on the heart. And Melisandre, we'll get to this in a later slide, in an unused draft, she refers to it as the heart of your wall. And Cersei even refers to it as the oldest and greatest castle on the wall. So it's like, maybe they just built this one around the big central tree, and then they just put the other ones kind of randomly after they had even forgotten potentially what the wall is. Yeah. Because the only time at Castle Black we get anything like a hint that we get at the Nightfort that maybe there's some extra like shenanigans going on in the wall, it takes all the way until, well, first of all, I guess you could say, there's a few things in Jon's first, like when he first arrives at the wall, but you can write it off as just being natural because he describes how much colder it is and everything. But like, that's just, because he's at the wall. And he like thinks about it in comparison to like how there was hot blood being pumped through Winterfell or hot water that flowed like blood through Winterfell because of the heating system. Mm-hmm. And he thinks how the wall is missing that. So it's so much colder. But then in Dance with Dragons, he actually is like for the first time going way back into the wall where they have and like freezers carved. Yeah, and George specifically words it as there's a mountain of ice above you, but even still, it's colder than it should be. And it's like George wouldn't word it like that for no reason. So it's like I think maybe there is a Weirwood near Castle Black, but it's not like right on top of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like where you have to kind of get deep in there before you start getting in proximity to it. So maybe that's why the other castles just aren't right on top of one of these things. And even if they aren't on the one where the Night's King and all his sworn brothers got strapped up to it and trapped. So, yeah, all right. That's kind of my current thought.
It's proximity. And also I like the idea that like, this is the only one that is actually built with the idea that they're going to utilize the giant god tree. Because and the other ones are built because it's, they even state Castle Black was built half of the time, half away.
Yes, exactly.
Like it was a long time.
And the Nightfort's the only one with the ice steps rather than the actually built steps. Like it's got a bunch of stuff, and it's the only one that's really described, as far as I know, as being built deep into the wall in the oldest chambers. So it's like
there's enough ice forts or the ice cells. Like there's some ice stuff in the large.
It is way more attached to the wall than any other thing they have there. Any other castle, and it is the only one with like really strange magic in it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that was my thoughts on that.
All of Castle Black they never stated being in the wall except for those couple times because it's like the Lord Commander's tower. Like the
it's all outside the wall.
Like it's all buildings.
It's buildings with tunnels outside the wall. The only time you go in the wall is to get to the tunnel to the other side and in the freezers. As far as I'm aware, those are the only things built, and the ice cells, which are right on the outside of the wall, as far as I can tell. So
so you want to do your Mel Nightfort?
Yeah, let's do that one now.
I feel like we're moving there, and then you got Things That Came in the Night, People in the Wall, and Arson Mad Axe.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right, here we go. So let me know if you need me to move the logo. I think what words are, but
Yeah. Well, this is just the screenshots in white that you see there are little screenshots from G-Steph on Reddit, who went to the Cushing Library and looked through the old Feast for Crows drafts. And these were unused things that were cut out of the books. But basically, if you can see in the bottom line there, it says Melisandre answered that it must be the Nightfort. Even in ruins, the Nightfort is the heart of your wall. And then down below that, it mentions two of the drafts contain a conversation that was cut from the actual books, where Cersei's talking about how Jon Snow is basically a traitor for giving Stannis the gift and the Nightfort. And even she describes the Nightfort as the oldest and greatest of the Wall's castles. So it seems like George, like originally, like he's got stuff in mind for the Nightfort, because even still, like they're restoring the Nightfort. Queen Selyse is intent on going there. Like we're clearly going towards the Nightfort. And it seems like on some level, he's like, okay, I got to cut back how much I talk about this until we get to the Nightfort itself, because I mean, if you draw too much attention to it, maybe someone will figure out, oh, we should pay attention to what's going on at the Nightfort. And then when I figured out what I think's going on at the Nightfort, like 50 different things all fell into place. So it's like, oh, maybe George kind of doesn't want to draw the attention to the Nightfort and doesn't want
tip his head too much.
Yeah, doesn't want to do it too much.
If Melisandre had said that line in the actual books, I think a lot more people would have been like, wait a minute now, let's go back and look at Bran's chapter of the Nightfort with a fine-tooth comb here and try to figure out what exactly she's talking about.
Yeah.
And when you go back through Bran's chapter, so much of it is about the well and the Weirwoods and like the kitchens, which they mention are being restored. So it's like, to me, I think cut some of those mentions of the Nightfort is to not tip his hand. Yeah. So that was the point of that slide, basically.
Holy crap. Sorry, I received a PayPal a while ago.
Oh.
And it's just Kristy saying thanks for us doing this. And also a $50 freaking donation.
Wow. Thank you. Very
Kristy,
nice.
You don't need to pay us $50 to talk nerd shit.
But we do this in our free time. Sometimes we also talk about football, but also mostly nerd shit.
It's extremely appreciated.
Thank you.
No, like you're the best. Sorry, Kristy.
Yes. We have many very, very great fans, but yes, she is definitely one of the top fans.
I didn't mean the best as in like I'm not ranking all you guys.
No. I'm me either. I didn't mean to come across that way. I'm saying we have all of I love all of the people who watch this stuff, but yes, she requested this specific stream.
Yeah, multiple times.
This would not be happening without her.
And speaking of football, Zach, I'm really sorry the Bills build it up.
Oh, don't worry. They did the most Bills things they could possibly do. Lose to the Chiefs.
Oh my God.
Football has been depressing lately.
The worst team in the playoffs was the Packers, but the Chiefs sort of like next.
I feel like there's somebody here who's going to staunchly disagree with the Packers. But
I already know Taco's a Vikings fan, and I'm not going to kick him while he's down. I'm not going to even bring up.
They were all right. They're better than the Vikings, but they were the worst team in the playoffs. And
I knew what he meant
amazingly. And
I thought you meant the worst team, as in the one you least want to win.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I figured.
No, they were the worst team in the playoffs. I will state that. They played amazing though.
You sound like the Vikings friend that I have, who before the season he was like, "So who do you think's going to win the division this year?" I'm like, "Well, probably the Lions, but if it's not the Lions, the Packers are easily the second choice." And he's just like,
as much as I hate the Packers, that game was probably my favorite game of the playoffs, and also not only that, but a playoffs Lions championship would have been so
I know. I wanted Packers Lions final so bad. Like it would have been the stuff of dreams. Right. But
this is not Let's Talk About
football. This is not Interesting Football Club episode.
I tried a Let's Talk About Vikings last season on my channel. I didn't break 10 views ever in like 4 minutes, and I was finally like, bro, I'm not gonna talk to you for 2 hours for 4 minutes. Yeah. 4 views. When I know I'm one of them. All right. So that's a lot of Mel Nightfort stuff. We're getting a lot out of it, and also Kristy interrupted being really awesome. But we got Arson, Mad Axe, and People in the Wall, and I think that's
all the other ones are ghost stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got Thing That Came in the Night. Is the
pick one and go. We got all
People in the Wall and Mad X are connected, right?
Yeah, we can do those in order if you want. They're both Arson Ice Axe is in both of them.
Yeah. Well, then I might have to take care of something. But
all right, we can cover for a minute.
Yeah, yes, I'm gonna put this up now, and hopefully I'm back before it becomes unrelevant. All right.
Okay. Yeah. So the Thing That Came in the Night is an interesting one, and I know Zach, you and Tom had some good conversation about this in your Nightfort episode.
Yes.
So basically, the way that I read The Thing That Came in the Night is like, it's creepy, and we don't know much about it, but the things that we do know about it kind of sound like the others in a weird way, right? Like it's not like enough to be like, oh, this is an other, but also it shows up at night, it scares the heck out of everybody, they all die, it comes back much later, and those dead guys are like shambling behind it in chains, which sounds metaphorically like the others don't actually chain you up, but they do have dead people following behind them.
Yes,
they come at night. So to me, this like is one of the things that's like, oh, well, if the reason for all of these creepy ghost stories and happenings at the Nightfort are because there are others like in the wall there or strapped to their tree there somehow, right? Like this would kind of hint at that.
Right. Yes.
I didn't know if you were done with that.
No, we're fine. Yeah, I think so.
And there could be a variant of the others, that is literally dragging you around. There could be a right, because we have some like weird edge cases with the others already. What the fuck is Cold Hands?
Right.
Is he a shambling corpse? He's a lot smarter than any other white we've seen. He's able to converse. He remembers somewhat who he was.
Yep.
Right back at you, and I know Tom didn't want to be here, but he's got some stuff going on right now. But yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And also, we just got a super chat from April May. Let's read it. Next up is April May. I don't know why I went game show with it, but I'm going to stick with it. Thank you guys for all the swanky videos, and thank you for not banning you for making such long posts in chat. Oh my God. So April put like an arm-long chat that I read the whole thing of, and it literally took me like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta get out. I gotta get out of bed. I'm getting bed sores reading this. But no, and I tried to do my best to like reply to something she said in the beginning, something in the middle, something then, so she knows I didn't just read to the first sentence. But no, April, you're awesome, and thank you for the super chat. So what was the conclusion we came up with the Thing That Came in the Night?
Yeah, so basically my conclusion is like it's so other-like in the few things we know about it, right? It comes at night, scares everybody, they die, and then it comes back much later with those dead guys following behind it.
That's others.
That's the others. Like it might not exactly be the others, but it's seemingly like kind of George is like hinting like, hey, this castle's haunted by the others.
Yeah,
that's what I take from it.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's just other stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
It comes in the night. It challenges the dude with some old king blood, and then if it's not good enough, they all laugh at him and then kill him.
Right. Yep.
That's some other stuff.
Yep.
I got a question. Is the White Walkers said much in the books at all?
It's listed on the wiki as one of the ways they're described.
It's all they say in the show, but
yes.
I never hear it in the books. Like I started thinking it's not
rarely.
a book thing.
I think it's rare, but like what they are called more often, I think, is cold shadows or white shadows.
Yep. The language. So language is a really huge thing, and it's something that any writer needs to think of. Like, oh, I can tell my story, but maybe I should choose different adjectives for different people to show them, to give you different things. So it's like, instead of me saying that you have cold eyes, maybe I want to keep using death imagery. So I'm going to say dead eyes, or you laugh like, the voice of death, or using a different thing, or maybe I'm going to use sun imagery, so on and so forth. So I'm using the same thing, but I'm using that imagery. something that I think David Lightbringer was the first person that I realized brought it up, but not only are the White Walkers always called the White Shadows, which I'm glad that you're actually using as actual shadows. And I got something I want to state too, but also the fact that he always uses the same imagery and language for the Kingsguard, or shadowing people. They're very icy. They're very cold. They literally, Mandimore's got dead eyes. Like, they're very White Walker-y.
I have a theory for that.
Super goofy. Okay.
We want to hear the theory.
Okay. You can make a video for it. If you
Future video coming. No. I'll do both. People can watch both. It's fine.
All right, cool.
Yes. So this is a future video, and yes, coming completely from David Lightbringer, drawing those connections very well. I think essentially, right, if my view of what the Weirwood system is correct, right, it's all a system of power and control. And it is you're controlled by the Weirwoods, and the others are the enforcers. They are the things that you're scared of if you mess with the system of power. If you try to destroy the Weirwoods, you will take down the Wall's magic, and the others will come get you. If you come at the king, the Kingsguard come for you. So if you come at the Weirwoods, if you come at the system of control, at the head of the power source, they're these things that are going to come and kill you. So the Kingsguard are essentially just in the human power system of control. They're the guards, and the others are there as the guards in the magical system of control. So I think that's kind of why they mirror each other, is they both serve the same function in the system of powers that they're in.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. They're the Sentinels. They're the they're the sentries. Also, another thing that he brought up that I always thought was really genius was a weir, as in a weir, a fisherman's weir.
Yes.
In the stream of time. So weirwoods, as in literally, they are weirs catching things through the stream of time. Like, there's this whole mythology time thing.
I learned a lot from David Lightbringer about mythology, and it's like even the things where it's like I don't necessarily fully agree with his conclusion.
I don't know.
I know on the way I'm gonna learn like 10 different cool things. So it's like that's the thing I kind of love about his content, is like, even if like I don't agree with every conclusion, it's like, well, along the way I'm gonna learn 5 other things that are going to be helpful for my writing in the future. Because
I'm not sold on his Last Hero Azura High Night King stuff, but you know what? He explained something about theology I never realized before, of like how most religions have a guy who gives infinite knowledge to the mortals, and in almost every religion, he's kind of the good guy. Like Odin's kind of the good guy, or like Prometheus is kind of the good guy, right? But the one who does it in Christian mythology is Satan. It's like, wait, why is he the bad guy? And that was
he's actually helping us out a lot there.
Satan. Sure, they left paradise, but with infinite knowledge.
The knowledge of good
and then you get it again with Faust. He wishes to have infinite knowledge, and somehow he's the bad guy. Like, and also it's like, he's damned, and it's a bad thing. Like, you have infinite knowledge, you can become immortal, and then also with your infinite knowledge, like, make a bunch of cool shit and be like useful to humanity. Or if you just want to be a selfish bastard about it, at least you can be really like fucking hot and rich. Like, there is no way this man is like suffering from infinite knowledge.
Infinite knowledge, even when it comes to like Garden of Eden, it's only infinite for them because they were just nothing. They were just servants. They were just living. They had no intelligence about anything. So infinite knowledge is just knowledge of existence at all. Like, it is not infinite. Like it's
good
like
and
the
evil,
starting off point. Yeah, it's the
knowledge of good and evil.
Or Prometheus is just like self-sustaining, like to make fire, aka to survive outside of the gods controlling you. And I would have never thought of theology that way if it wasn't for this nerd who's talking about A Song of Ice and Fire. So as much as a lot of times, even with Preston Jacobs, 99% of the time I'm like, well, that's dumb. And then but he'll then put up stuff where I'm like, you're not off there. Like, okay, that's you got a point that time. And like, I just made a Taina Merriweather video, which is coming out on Saturday morning, and I had to at the end talk about his Taina and Cersei vids he did like 5 years ago, because I think he completely cracked that egg wide open.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And it is like that one. I think he's more than 50% right. Like he is at least 80.
That and his a Fray in the Snow, I think, are the ones where
Fray in
he's
the
like,
Snow is really but there's a couple other ones where I'm like what? Of course, Dany can't be a Targaryen. like those like Dany's page of lies. Like, all right, you're kind of making a little bit of sense, but I hate the idea that everybody's a Targaryen except for Dany. Like, that's just
I believe that the Dany like controversy over being Targaryen will come to pay off to be information warfare, and
I like
famously talked about that a lot. That Dany can be a Targaryen. The fact that there's ambiguity will come back to haunt her.
Which there should be, because like people brought this up when I referenced your theory with the Blackfire video that I did.
Yeah.
And it was like, people are like, no, people know all about Dany and who she is. It's like, everyone in Westeros who knows it through Varys, because Varys told them. None of them have seen this girl as an adult, and people forget, like, in the modern day, like, where you can see pictures of everyone, there's no one knows who Dany is. If she didn't have these dragons, not a dang person would ever be able to verify who she was. Like,
it's so weird that you bring up the no photograph thing, because one of the weirdest thing that always sticks out to me in the books anytime I go through them again is early on when Renly asks Ned, hey, does this girl look like Lyanna? And it's this tiny little painting in a locket. And it's like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Who? You need an artist to paint this little, like it's not a photograph, bro.
Yeah, that is a little weird.
Painting. But yeah, no, I like that one. It weirds me out of like.
It does seem a little out of place.
Does
like you could have pulled out like a big like, hey,
let's go look at this tapestry that I have. But he's like, look at this beautiful locket. It says over here, this is the mall that we took our pictures in. We bought this at Claire's.
I mean, at the very least, he's using a very little brush, and there can't be that much detail for Ned to be like, oh yeah, clearly this looks like Lyanna.
Preston is a horse, actually, if you guys are wondering. Sorry that we're not. Everyone keeps saying some really interesting stuff, and I'm assuming at least Michael, I'm assuming, has got the chat open, but
I have it in a different tab, and I've been checking it out.
I have not been able to view it. Very sorry, everybody in chat.
yeah, you're going off a phone. But yeah, and if Michael wants me to pull anything up, I can. But it was just like I know that Nightfort we actually have a lot to cover, so
I've missed most of it in the chat this time.
I'm doing my best, guys. But I didn't want to make the president that I put up every single thing, because then we would never move on. But I'm not saying, I'm just saying that I'm reading it and you guys are appreciated. That's all. You guys are appreciated, damn it. I
want you to know, chat, that I can't be viewing you right now, but my Roller Coaster Tycoon game is going great.
I assume the chat is as exciting as the roller coasters.
I've been playing a game online that I am like 50. No, you know what? I'm going to go 75% sure that Zach has played it. You know what? I'm going to go 90. 90%. Go for it. New campaign trail.
The new campaign trail. I've not, because it's funny. My favorite political simulator is very old, but it's because he's super moddable, so I can make things the way I think they should be. It's President Forever 2008 plus primaries.
All right,
I've learned. I have the modding tool for it. Okay. I've learned how to make my own custom mods, and I literally just make my own mods that only I ever play for my own enjoyment. It's like one of the weirdest like little quirks I have. I did try booting it up, but my laptop does not have the. My laptop's version has a lot of issues. It runs better on my desktop for whatever reason.
Here's a history nerd sentence for you, Zach. I've been really trying to get Jennings Bryan to beat McKinley. Like, I've been playing.
Well, wait, sorry. No, wait. I'm confusing the game. I had played the New Campaign Trail. You're 100%
Campaign
right.
Trail, you can choose.
That's the web one.
Yeah, it's all online. It's not an old. It's not like.
I'm in the Discord. I completely forgot. I was confusing it with
New Campaign Trail, and I've been trying to get William Jennings Bryan to beat McKinley, and I've been doing better than the real William Jennings Bryan, but I have not beaten him.
It's not hard to be better than the real William Jennings Bryan. He was bad at the whole running for president thing.
Yeah, but he's awesome. I love him.
He was really good at giving speeches. Unfortunately, that's not how you win.
Yeah. Well, not back then.
No.
You know, he lost against McKinley, who didn't leave his house.
That was back in the day. That was just not how they campaigned. There were some examples of people who got where campaigning was going. The first really effective campaign that did have a lot of elements of like public speaking was Henry George running for New York City mayor, which I'm doing a video about. That election is one of the most consequential in like I think political history. And also all three people who ran, Abraham Hewitt, who won, is the father of the New York City subway. Henry George, who got second place, is one of the most respected economists of all time, and helped kickstart the labor movement in the United States as a political force. There was an attempt to make a labor party that failed, but then they realized that unions worked better as like endorsers and power brokers to get volunteers out than they did as a political party, at least in the American context. In the third place was a guy you may have heard of called Theodore Roosevelt. So everybody who ran in that election did important things, and perchance, yes.
Twice,
man. Here I am, just hoping to have like an election in our lifetime where we have one great person.
That one had three good candidates. All three of those people.
If we had three great people running for something, I would be wow.
I'm from North Dakota. I come from the state where Doug Burgum runs against himself. So.
Yeah.
Who are you running against? Just another Doug Burgum. Come on.
God damn it.
No, I'm done after I make my one Burgum joke, but I lived in Moorhead, Minnesota, so I went across the river and lived in Minnesota for one election year. And somehow the guy who destroyed downtown Fargo became governor in that election year, and no one told me. And then I moved back to Fargo, and somebody's like, Governor Burgum. I'm like, Governor?
wait. Sorry. Repeat that for me, please.
The dude who destroyed downtown, the guy who bought the art galleries above the studio that he just bought and booted all the artists out of the gallery because his company literally told them, we just wanted the appearance of artists, not actual art. Those are the sentence. No, we wanted to appear to be art friendly. Get the hell out of downtown.
Oh no.
He's now running the state.
Uh-oh.
I missed it. I missed something.
That's usually how it goes, yeah.
Yeah. Failing upwards.
Oh my god. And somehow I still liked what he did for his 2 months of running for president, if that 2 weeks of running for president. I still liked him more than some of the other Republican candidates.
Well,
he's still Doug Burgum.
So. It's nice sometimes to somebody to run for something else so you can get rid of him.
Yeah.
He can go fuck up something else. Unfortunately, something else is the rest of the country, so it's not a real benefit one way or the other. He was the one who gave people $20 gift cards if they donated $1, which is like a real scheme there. Well, because they're tracking donor amounts to get into debate, so we literally just paid people to donate to him. It's a real fucking cheat code there.
Yeah.
Like when people were asking for small dollar donations so they could get kind of close to like Bernie's count of like his average donation. Yeah.
It's okay. It's not his money.
Yeah. It's some rich guy's money that's a bribe, but yes.
But anyways, enough about Doug Burgum. I'm sorry.
We're talking about horrible monsters from frozen locations.
Exactly.
So
hey, North Dakota, that's me. Does that make me dollar set?
I could believe it.
I'm at least Tormund, right? I would bang a giant and a bear.
It
Just so
depends.
you know.
Taco, it depends. If they let some Canadians through into North Dakota, and then you start starving, will you instantly joke about eating them? Do you joke
Probably.
about eating Canadians if the winter gets bad? Because then you might be Dolores Ed.
I need a Canadian. But, all right. So, does that make North Dakota the GIF in this? The gift?
No, that's South. Yeah, North Dakota's the gift.
Yeah,
South Dakota's the new gift. Yes.
South Dakota's
Yes, clearly that is the American lore. Yeah.
Yeah. The new. Yeah, this is hilarious. All right, you want to talk about arson?
Yeah, let's do Mad Axe first. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So this slide is just made to essentially, and we don't know which of these two like legends happens first, right? Do they trap him in there? Right. Like, but they trap a guy in the wall who has an axe, and then they say they can still hear him. And then later, or maybe not later, but I assume probably later, there's a guy who goes mad and kills everybody with an axe. So it's like, are these things like connected? Is there some sort of like spirit of Arson Ice Axe who's like, you know, messing with this guy's mind and being like, kill everybody with an axe? I don't know. But then the other thing that's interesting, right, is he moves around silently. It says it's because he takes his boots off. But also, the other thing that moves around silently and kills people is the others. So it's like, again, we have another little like shared trait with the ghost stories at the Nightfort and the others, which I, found interesting, but might not mean anything, or maybe it does. Who knows?
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading the chat. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Also, there is a possibility that the guy who gets trapped eventually becomes some type of White Walker-y monster to then come back and murder his friends. I don't know if you said that as I was trying to read everybody's stuff.
No, I had.
We have a Canadian who's just making fun of Americans.
That's fair. We do the same to you.
It's fair.
If we dish it out, we have to then take it.
Right. Yep. Just keep in mind, if we ever want one more state or two, where we could come take some. If we
but the like areas that would have enough population to sustain a state are Ontario, Vancouver, and Quebec. Like Quebec's not even happy being part of Canada. Can you imagine if they were part of America? They'd be pissed.
They would be pissed.
Yeah.
All right. Here's if Quebec wants to join America, we'll just give them Louisiana. So both of them can be part of. Because we'll get the French people together. Yeah. I know that's way more complicated than that, and that Creole and Cajun are two completely different things, and French Louisianans are also two completely different things, a mix of multiple different cultures from multiple different places. But screw it, they're all French. Y'all make good food? That's all we need.
Yep.
It'd be funny if you just look at like the electoral college map and everything is still like Democrat or Republican except for Louisiana, which votes for BQ.
Exactly. I mean, for a while, like you can have states that are not connected. I mean, Maine was.
We have two of them, notably.
Yeah. But Maine was Massachusetts for like a long time.
You're right.
And then we're like, all right, when the slave states wants to become a slave state, we need a free one. Massachusetts,
right.
Do you want to give up your trees? Yeah, we're not using them. Maine.
If we ever do get more states, it is definitely going to be a game like that. One side's going to be like, honestly, we need 2 more votes.
100.
We need 2 more senators here. Like,
trust me. I was lobbying hard to get DC and Puerto Rico statehood. Just hey, we could use 4 more Democratic senators right now.
2 more Democratic states.
Yeah.
So you have to, break Alaska in 2, so it could be another state.
The 3 Californias, right? You can get 3 blue Californias.
Northern you can't let too much of Northern California be its own thing.
I think just annex British
Columbia. Just Bay Area is its own thing. SoCal is its own thing, and then the Valley region balances out the NorCal
breaking
region.
up LA. You're not
gerrymandering LA.
I have gerrymandered California before to make it 3 blue states. I gerrymander things in my spare time.
Gonna get back
It's
to
fun.
the Nightfort, but
Yeah,
would
fair
British
enough.
Columbia be a red state or a blue state?
British Columbia, Vancouver alone would make it blue, right?
Yeah, I assume
yeah.
blue.
Alright.
I assume most places, if you carve out a random chunk of Canada, you're going to get a blue state out of it. But
I don't know, man.
Well,
I think like the
I have-
northern.
Yeah, okay,
I have
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I have friends who are or were before they moved to America, like were like Canadian progressive conservatives, Tories, and they're all like, yeah, but like your guys' version of that is like crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It may in fact be the case that my job is to stop them from winning. It's like, yeah, they're that crazy. He's like, yeah, like even we believe in like, oh well, obviously everybody gets health care, and like you probably shouldn't own like a full-on machine gun.
All of the guns.
Yeah.
That's the
all
thing,
right.
yeah.
We
Yeah, we can go back. We can go back to.
We can go back to the Nightfort. Yes.
I don't know why having two politically minded people and a dude who literally works in politics. It always gets political.
Right. Who knows?
Allegedly, it's been alleged by many that I've worked on campaigns for 9 years.
I always apologize because my politics are I'm so anarchistic where it's like I'm not nuanced at all. I'm just like
it has been alleged by all these paychecks that I receive that I have this job.
It's been alleged that if you trawl through photos of political events that happen in Philadelphia and the surrounding area, you can play Where's Waldo with my face.
I sometimes forget that not everybody's an anarchist. My wife included. She was just listening to a podcast, and I can't remember what they were talking about, but they were talking about this dude who committed like fraud against his company and how they were like he was a bad guy. And the whole time I'm like, you stealing money from a big business? What's wrong? Where's the crime? Where's the crime? I mean, they just use us as the working class, and they make all their money off of anyways. He's just finally getting his fair share, and my wife's like, "Calm down, calm down."
It was actually part of the problem with Soviet factories is that because the workers were not paid very well and they were making things they could probably never afford for luxury goods, especially electronics, they would, instead of like if you stole one whole thing, you would get caught. So instead, you would steal a single part, not put it in. You would release a non-functional product, making your factory even less efficient. And then in 15 years, you would have a television.
Yes. I think there's Is it a country song about a guy who does that with a car, or is that just like an old story?
I think there is a country song about that.
An old country song about a guy who steals a car piece by piece and builds.
I drank a whiskey and stole the muffler, and I drank more whiskey and stole the muffler.
And if it's not a country song, I don't know what I'm thinking of, but it's an old story that is something that should be a country song.
If it's not a country song, it should be correct.
Right. All right. We literally only got one slide left, so we don't.
Yeah, we're stalling because this is fun. We're gonna run out of slides.
I never once said we're gonna do a 3-hour stream. You guys are just making it.
We're turning into that.
I don't have a time limit. Like this isn't one of my flip streams. This is just a stream in the middle of the night, so we don't have to go.
Yeah, I don't have like a real like limit either. I just gotta go to bed at a reasonable hour. But a reasonable hour for me is before like 1:30 in the morning.
Oh my god! You know what?
I usually clock out.
You know what? Non-factor worker / not dad. I got a lot of problems with you. Oh my god! People with lives, you suck.
It's not really alive. There's a I'm in the part of work where if humans are awake, I got to be doing something. And if humans aren't awake, I'm probably exhausted from dealing with humans who are awake all day.
I've gotten all my work done. Like I feel like Wayne's World, where Wayne's World 2, and he's talking to the ghost of Jim Morrison, and he's like, "Oh, like when you get home Friday night and you do all your homework right away, so Saturday night you could just party." And I'm like, became that guy where I'm like, I'm going to get all my videos filmed. I filmed 4 shorts in 2 videos today. And then I'm doing this. And I did all the housework. And I worked on all of it. Tomorrow is Tekken all day, bro. I'm going to play fighting games all day tomorrow. I'm not even looking at my laptop.
There you go.
Screw you guys. All right. Let's get to the people on the wall.
Yeah. So even if even if there are not people strapped to the tree in the wall, they are putting quite a bit of people in the
Sorry,
wall.
Johnny Cash, one piece at a time.
That's it. Yes,
It's
I thought it was
real-
Johnny Cash.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Steve. Steve.
Thank you.
Gotta go
Yes.
listen to that
From
one after the stream's
downtown.
over.
I was thinking it was someone. I thought it was Johnny Cash, but I wasn't sure. But yes, I couldn't remember the name. Yep, but that is definitely a thing. But okay, yes. So yeah, there are people in the wall.
I don't know, but they better not. All right, go ahead. Sorry, I had
no,
to.
all good. There's multiple stories of people being put in the wall as a punishment, and they all happen at the Nightfort. So Arson Ice Axe digging his way through the wall, and they're just like, you know what? Let him keep going. We're just gonna wall him in, and then he's just trapped there forever. Apparently, never makes it to the other side or makes it out. And then the 79 Sentinels, who were Night's Watch deserters, and then they abandoned their post. They went south for a bit of shenanigans that YouTube doesn't like when you say, I don't think.
Yep,
and then they were
I
captured.
don't like it.
Yeah, they were captured and returned to the wall. And as punishments, they were put into the wall, each given a spear and a horn, and then frozen there and sealed up so that they could stand watch forever. And if there are people that are trapped forever in the wall at the Nightfort, both of these stories kind of, hint at that a little bit.
All
At least that's what I take from them.
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, that seems to heavily imply there are people that just get stuck in the wall and are still alive.
Yep.
Like we don't hear and then after being stuck in the wall for like 5 minutes, he suffocated. Obviously, it's like no,
maybe it's a carbonite situation because of the nitroglycerin in the ice. Deal with it, or whatever the heck Michael was talking about earlier.
The niter.
Yeah.
Well, either way, right? Like, both of these things sort of imply that, like, okay, when you deal with the Night's King and his sworn brothers at the Nightfort, and you need to do something with these people you've just defeated, maybe they just stuck them in the wall. Maybe and if the Night King was already strapped up to a tree in the wall, that would be pretty easy to just be like, okay, let's stick all these other guys up there and just, encase them in the wall. And there's precedent for that multiple times.
I've been waiting all game to give you kudos, you piece of garbage. And the kudos I'm gonna give you is one problem I always had with the White Walkers is I hate evil, right? Like evil for the sake of evil. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of the real evil as humans, and the last thing I want is the only hey, we're gonna make some type of demons. Okay, what's their motivation? They hate humans. I don't know. They're gonna attack. They're the apocalypse. They are literally climate change personified into demons. Oh, okay. There's never been a pitched motivation at all for the White Walkers, as far as I'm concerned, in the fandom. I don't know. Maybe there's a couple.
There's always talk of like, oh, what if there's some pact, whatever, but no one goes into details.
But or we invaded their land, or like so on and so forth. But that is just. There's not a real motivation there.
It always sort of requires you to,
or we're breaking the deal, or that we're breaking this deal.
It requires you to have an assumption that's not ever brought up in a line of the text, right? Like there's not like a part of the legend that would imply that. People are just like, well, there must be something, so let's make up.
If it's something that simple, then at the very least, this is an extremely powerful, extremely hostile force mad about pretty much nothing. And that's not a full motivation. Like, oh, well, there's no longer Stark and Winterfell, so they're going to murk everybody.
Yeah.
What kind of rational, sentience is thinking that? So the idea that these guys, that the others are projections of powerful green seers or some other type of sorcerers, which will just assume the Night King, because he's a powerful sorcerer, means green seer, because it's stated that he was that before we even learn about him banging the white lady, right? So that hot white MILF, but he's a sorcerer, aka green seer. So we have these magical, powerful people that are strapped to like the Weirwood, the old gods, and they are being projected out and possibly living as monsters, and their motivation is like, free us, like no help. And I kind of dig that, because for one, you finally gave him a motivation, and two, you're right, they're not overly insanely hostile. Like, they haven't tried to they haven't tried to break the wall yet. Like, people go out and they get missing, but they're very strategic on who they attack.
And in the show, they specifically, and this didn't lead to anything in the show, but they specifically spare the guy who drops to his knees in front of them in the first scene. And then at the end of season 2, Sam is there, and the White Walker spots him when the entire army of whites is going by him. And what does Sam do? He goes like this. He bows, and then the guy lets him go. There is something to that.
They're not mindless monsters. They're never portrayed that way until, the bad seasons.
Climate change does have a king as Al Gore.
I mean,
Al Gore, Lord Paramount of the internet.
Come on, everybody knows that. He's got that Al Gore rhythm, if you know what I'm saying.
I was thinking back in the day, when Al Gore first got divorced, people were writing like pickup lines for him. I was remembering a couple of those fondly.
Oh god, that Al Gore's Tinder profile, his Tinder bio.
It's fantastic.
What was I gonna say? Something about the others when they let people bow to them, right? I might have lost it. I don't know. Somebody else talk. It'll come back to me.
You're right. They're shown to have like some amount of like intelligence to them, but also like society, right? Like you can be intelligent and not recognize that. Like cavemen would not understand you like showing that sort of like respect and submission, or maybe they would. We just don't know as much about cavemen as we'd like. But like that shows they're not just evil. They're not just like a demon in like, I don't know, if we're talking about like a Warhammer fantasy, would not care that you bowed and that you showed fealty or something like that. But the others clearly do.
Also, and this wasn't what I was going to say, but also when Sam kills the other, I don't think others specifically even try to kill them. They're just trying to take the baby. Like, they back them up against a Weirwood, don't they? And they're like, oh, he wants the baby. But I'm trying to remember. I don't, off the top of my head, remember that exact scene.
I'm going to put up something for April May, but I'm going to answer April May's
go
thing.
for it. I'll look up that scene while you do.
Okay, Michael, so if you're right and they sealed the Night King inside the wall, which they do likely if they had him, but the wall was made before the Night's King. The wall was not made before the Night's King. The Night's King was the 13th Lord Commander of the wall.
Actually, I here's how I would explain that. So because he did glimpse the Night's Queen from atop the wall. So the wall existed.
Yeah, the wall existed.
But the Horn of Joramun is said to bring down the wall.
And was used to beat him. And
Joramun was the king of the wildlings who fought the Night King. So the only way that the Horn of Joramun can be known to bring down the wall, which the wildlings know that
is if they did it once.
They did it once, and with the construction of the wall... With the construction of the wall that I believe happened, it's the only way that could have been done, and the wall is still there. Because the wall just regrows from all the water pumps, as long as what the thing does is it wakes the giants from the earth, which means it makes the trees shake all their branches off these giant trees. And when Bran is going to Bloodraven's cave, the only thing that saves Bran from being killed by whites is Leaf, or someone, magically makes a tree shake all the snow off of it, and it covers Bran's body. So a tree can magically be made to shake all the snow and ice off of itself, and we've seen that magic before. So if that's what the Horn of Joramun does, the wall could have been brought down to get at the Night's King in the Nightfort, and then once they did that, they just strap them all up there, let the wall regrow, And then there's like, hey, oh, and also Brandon the Breaker is the other king, right? So maybe he was part of the battle that broke the wall. So you have the Breaker, you have the Horn of Joramun, you have a guy who was ruling from the wall. They probably broke the wall and let it regrow. And yeah, what they could have done is just strapped them all up to the tree before it regrew around them, is my thinking.
And then, of course, next thing she brings up is the whole tying in and how it's giants, it's waking giants from the earth or whatever. But
yeah,
I always, in my head canon, waking giants from the earth is literally just an earthquake.
Yeah, that could be too.
But that's like, because that's a giant coming up, like a real giant. Right.
And that could be how, you break the ice down. But in either case, again, the wall can, and probably did, regrow because, they didn't build it all again. They don't have a story about how they had to rebuild the wall. It seems like
there's multiple Brandons that possibly built all of the things, but they think it's probably not one Brandon, right?
Right.
So maybe it was 2 different Brandons, 3 different Brandons that helped build all those things. I think Brandon helping build Storm's End is bogus, but I do think multiple Brandons helping build the wall and Winterfell. Because, like a certain president had 8 years and he didn't even build like 10 miles of a wall, right? And these guys...
He had 4. Okay. Don't worry, he won't have 4 more.
4 years. Did I say 8? 4 years, and it felt like 8.
It felt like 8.
It felt like 20. It felt like me losing my entire hairline. In fact, it was.
Dudes, this guy built a magical hot spring castle and a magical tree, somehow weird wall in one lifetime.
The one
Dude,
thing
I would need a nap. Is all I'm saying.
The one thing I think about Storm's End, and this is another theory that I'll probably do a video on one day, is Storm's End has the similar magic to the wall, and it has a similar magic to Winterfell, and to Bloodraven's Cave, where it's like this magical barrier. And if Bloodraven's Cave is an old tree town of the Children of the Forest, because that's where they were said to live in secret tree towns. So essentially, Bloodraven's Cave is a big hill covered in all these trees that are magically warded. When you try to go between 2 of the Weirwoods, you can't. Cold Hands can't, and the others and the Whites can't. Mm-hmm. So if Winterfell, the hill that it's built on, is an old tree town, and it has that same magic ward in its walls on some level, maybe, because the Storm's End, he tried to build it, the storm broke it. He tried to build it, the storm broke it again. It's one of those things. Then somehow one of them stood. What if
it's a Monty Python bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what if it's one of the things? Yep. What if it's one of the things that Bran the Builder did? Is like rather than like physically helping construct it, he's like, hey, don't build it there. Build it on this hill where there's a line of Weirwoods, and build those into your wall. And there's like, okay. And then they did it and it worked. And they're like, oh my god, this Bran the Builder guy helped build Storm's End. That's
Bran the consultant.
Think. Yeah, he's a building consultant more than like a mason, right?
He's worse. He's a developer. The worst of all evil. And you know what?
I'm just saying when Bran the Builder showed up, all of a sudden there wasn't a housing problem in Winterfell anymore.
Yeah. No, you know what? He put up some really high-end apartments.
Right. Bran the Builder gentrified Storm's End. It used to be a Children of the Forest.
There's like 6 good hipster bars and like they're all really expensive.
All right. All right, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna fight Stannis. The phrase in the man release, but first I'm gonna hit up the Jamba Juice and then I'm
gonna grab some Weirwood paste from the tree town and then we're gonna go.
From tree town.
We had to eat rats and dogs in Storm's End because like the only other place was like this weird like I don't know vegan fusion food place and nobody was really feeling like the stir-fried walnuts.
Storm's End was also made by the same developer. It's got how come those 3 places, the only 3 places in Westeros you can get Starbucks are
they have an exclusive deal.
The old tower and the wall.
It's been there all along. George hid the clues in the Starbucks.
the real evil. My favorite line in The Wire is when, sorry, that's what I was quoting, is when they find out that Stringer Bell, played by young Idris Elba, one of the hottest men alive.
Yes.
And they find out that he's no longer the money man for like he's no longer the drug kingpin. He is now working on putting up some condos. So it's like, wait, he became a developer? It's like, oh, that's way worse. And I just love the idea that is way worse than a drug kingpin, guys.
Yeah.
It's all just...
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I love the character Stringer Bell a lot. If only he had managed to stick the landing on moving to legal activities. Although he's also cutting a deal with the most blatantly corrupt state senator in existence.
If you look at that show, and we're gonna get back to Song of Ice and Fire, but if you look at that show, the two most evil people in the entire show is Korchak, the developer, and then the corrupt politician, which is State Senator Clay Davis. Like those are the two most evil people in the entire show.
I was about to make a joke that I probably shouldn't. I was about to cross some work humor with that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna go cheat.
I could do that, but no, I was gonna name drop an actually corrupt state senator who may or may not be beefing with my current employer, who is a really cool state senator.
We already have been skinning the line of monetization, so I would rather you not.
We don't need to accuse political figures of.
I don't need to accuse somebody who prominently ran for mayor of Philadelphia and got 2% of the vote of being horribly corrupt.
We don't need to accuse people of the actions that they took.
I don't need to accuse somebody whose last name is Color and is very easy to Google and may or may not represent West Philadelphia. The state senate. That person who may or may not exist, I should not accuse of various corrupt activities because I have no evidence. I have no evidence that they have done those things.
I'm blaming you.
This entire section just ends up a bleep.
Yeah. Dude, you have no idea.
I'm gonna have a new meeting on my calendar for work tomorrow because it turns out somebody at the office watches this channel.
I was doing a show with somebody who was monetized when this last season of Succession came out, and the episode where the president election happens, and it's all on the night of the president election, and it's all pretty much about the Fox News of that world is like just making the election be whatever they want it to be. And then we kind of went on, and let's not jump off from there, please, because that's the problem. But we did, and then we just, talked about how corrupt elections are. And for some reason, that video just blimped out of existence, and he couldn't get it back at all. And I was like, we hit a nerve. Yeah. We are not allowed. So I realized that you can usually get monetization back if it's like language or something, but YouTube does not like hardcore politics.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially depending on the timeline, they could have been a little extra touchy about accusing elections of things for a moment there. And we won't go into detail on why. And I remembered what I was going to say before, so if we want to go back,
yes.
The one thing that I was going to say about the Night King at the Nightfort, is I would find it terribly funny if, rather than controlling his brothers to do his will with strange sorceries, the thing that happened is he realized, hey guys, the only reason they sent us to this entire wall is so that we can die here and feed our blood to these trees. Let's end this whole system. Let's take this thing down. And there was no strange sorcery involved. He just revealed what's going on. And they're like, yes, obviously we want to end this entire system of blood sacrifice, especially when we're the blood sacrifice. So that, in my head canon, I'm like, I'm not sold fully that the Night King did nothing wrong. But there is a world where the Night King was trying to end this old ways system thousands of years early. And that's why Bloodraven and Bran, as powerful as they are, ever since Bloodraven's been strapped to that tree up there, the others have been growing stronger. The wall is getting closer to falling. The old ways are getting closer to ending. Maybe that's what the Night King was trying to do. And maybe that's why our characters are going to embody the Night King, is because he did nothing wrong. He was trying to end the system. There's no strange sorceries. He's just like, guys, they're using you for strange sorcery. They want us to be blood sacrifices to feed this tree. Let's not do that.
So you're pretty much. I'm gonna make a hardcore X-Men reference here, but you're like Quentin Quire wearing the Magneto does nothing wrong shirt in Xavier's school right now, and you know what? It's super cool.
I do have a video on my channel that's just the Night King standing like this and says, "The Night's King did nothing wrong. Change my mind."
Bring it on. Well, I mean, what he tried to bang a chick and then accidentally lost his soul. You know, I've gotten into toxic relationships and turned my friends against me many a time.
Taco, he was in this incredibly conservative old ways society, and the story they tell about him is, oh, he met this woman, she completely changed him. All of a sudden, he wanted to do
We're
everything
changing a language specifically to flip me right now, and I don't appreciate it.
No, that's pretty much word for word from from my video. My video is like, this is the conservative family who had their black sheep go off and meet a girl from college who changed his worldview, and now they don't talk about him.
Taco,
anymore.
He's just an anarchist who likes hot babes. Like, stop trying.
He came back, Taco, and they tried to work it out, but they ended up having a big fight. Someone put a hole in the wall.
You know why this
doesn't work? For it.
My college girlfriend was awful.
Yeah, no, I was about to say. There could be both cases of it being like, he did go meet somebody, and they were right about how bad she was.
Yeah.
And after the Night King stopped hanging out with the Night Queen, she started turning all of his friends into Night Kings too, just to make them jealous.
We sound we may have dodged similar bullets at a similar age.
Oh, I didn't dodge that bullet.
I very unfortunately did not dodge the bullet. It was a direct hit. Yep.
Okay, I got out early enough.
I stood in front of the cannon like 4 times until I met my wife.
Oh god, yeah. I still have scars. Was it Teddy Roosevelt where they just left the bullet in him? Sorry. It's gonna be easier to just leave that in there.
Yeah, and then you have a speech for 3 hours. Oh my god, bro.
Yeah, that's rough.
I don't have the next word in this sentence because that's where the bullet went through the speech, but I'll keep going, guys.
I think I basically know where I was going with this.
Yeah.
So anyways, Robert Taft is lame and Wilson's insane. Vote for me. Wow, I did it all less than 3 hours. All right. I think the next tweet was
speedrun version.
Now we're really getting nuts. All right, let's go. Nymeria the wolf.
Probably Nymeria, the one with the ships.
10,000 wolves. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
That's an interesting one. I mean, we don't know enough about any of the characters to know if Nymeria would have ever ended up north of the wall.
Well, and I also think she came way later.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, that's true, because she sent people to the wall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like a bunch of kings.
Yeah. So that probably is a pretty
Lucifer
good sign.
Drywall, guys, or Dryland. Lucifer Dryland. So in my video about, I made a short about this that will be coming out. I'll send it straight to you, Michael. But
all right.
But there is a character from a place called he ruled the brimstone in Dorne, and it was like Hellgate Hall, and his name was Lucifer Dryland. Lucifer over brimstone and Hellgate, and I just. In my short, I'm like, and this is the only picture we have of him, and it's Satan from South Park.
Nice.
Nice. And also, I made that short is full of jokes because I'm like, from House Dryland, and then I show a picture of Waterworld, like, yeah, make your kamikaze joke.
Yeah.
Dryland is not a myth. I seen it.
Yeah. It is a common thought in my head as I'm like editing my videos. I'm like, what is the silliest thing I could have on the screen at this moment?
Kevin Costner.
And that's what I go with. Yeah. If there's not a relevant book quote, what's the silliest meme I could make where the characters are like breaking the fourth wall or saying something ridiculous?
If I was better at editing, or did it at all.
Did edit, yeah.
At all. I've been wanting to make a video. And the pitch is so messed up because this world is so messed up. But I've been trying to think of a way to make a video, but I feel like it's just so dark that people would hate me. But I'm just pointing out something that's happening in the show. But it would be the conversation between in House of Dragon between Viserys, Daemon, and not Alysanne.
Alysanne?
Alysanne, where Alyson's like, "Hey Damon, thanks for coming back. Do you want to go see these tapestries?" And then Viserys just makes fun of her, like, "You want to see the tapestries?" Mm-hmm. And I just want to flip to him, like putting his arm and go, "Don't mind her. She's just the child I used to make children." That's all she is. And so I did that in it was like a Glidus or Elshrift X, like when they were covering it. I just made that, and somebody goes, "Dark, dude." I'm like, but that's what she is. She's 16. She's the child he uses to make children. It's
and he does that, and it sort of messes up his entire family succession situation.
Weird.
So turns out maybe you shouldn't do that with children.
Do dumb shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a few jokes.
Here we go. I didn't know that. All right, he's named after somebody.
I was gonna say that one sounds like a reference, but I didn't know if it was a reference to anything beyond just Lucifer.
A reference to Satan.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, I didn't know there was a deeper one there.
And then I think my other one is just when what's the Lannister who isn't the one who eventually becomes really cool? Jason is the one who's currently the Lord of the Twins.
Oh yeah, okay.
Jason in Thailand, right?
I don't remember which is which.
Yeah, so the one who is the Lord, the older brother who's like, he walks up and he makes that joke like, "Oh well,
yeah.
This is why women can't go to war. They'd be too busy doing their hair," or like whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to flip to Dave Chappelle and Nutty Professor, like, "Women be shopping, yo."
Yes. The casual sexism as flirting guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if you've heard about this, King Viserys, but women be shopping, yo.
Yeah.
That's his whole thing.
The one thing I was going to mention too, when you brought up the child he uses to make children, is all the like slides I have in my recent video where I'm talking about like how long will the long night last, like I'm up in the air on this, by the way. Like I'm genuine like 60-40, like it's probably going to be pretty long, maybe it'll be short, but one of the things I brought up is the Arya Gendry scene, and I have like the speech bubbles of Gendry just being like, "Wait, but really though, before we do that again, how old are you?" And Arya's just like, "Honestly, just pretend the show had a 5-year gap." And Gendry's like, "That doesn't make me feel better."
I can't make my joke.
Yeah, this is one we got to tread carefully.
I already said children.
This is a problem with the show, is that they just sort of like assume that the amount of time that has passed is the amount of time that's passed in real life between seasons. Yeah. But that also doesn't track at all with the timeline ever, and they just never decide to acknowledge that.
The day after that episode aired with Arya and Gendry, the top Google search when you type in how old is Arya? When you type in how old, it's just how old is Arya Stark?
I've been looking at some questionable side boob for the last date. I gotta know, guys.
Yeah,
okay. I've got some real concerns here that what I watch might not be 100% on the up and up. And I gotta Google it to. Oh no! No!
You ever watch that? Watch any television show and it's just they start putting suggestive images into your mind where they're like, showing a character sexualized, and you're like, "Is that who's that actor? Because I don't even want to watch this."
Yep.
And then you look and it's like a 6, and you're like, don't film it that way. Back off.
Show. Don't do this.
So funny story, actually, I had that exact conversation about young Rhaenyra in House of the Dragon about 10 minutes before the sex scene. I asked my friend, I'm like, "Hey, do you know how old this actress is who plays Rhaenyra?"
It's not because I'm sexualizing them, but because the thing I'm focusing on is about to sexualize them, and it's making me creeped out.
I didn't even know this. I didn't know the sex scene was coming, but I was just like, "How old is this girl anyway?" And my friend looks, he's like, "She's 21. I'm like, "Okay, that I don't feel bad now."
Yeah.
And then, because she's very attractive, I'm like, "I don't feel bad now." And then she gets naked like 5 minutes later. I'm like, "I really am glad I asked you to Google that 5 minutes ago, because I would have felt really weird now, and we would have been Googling it now."
Yeah.
Also, you
The
put a lot of faith in
Googling would have been a lot more frantic. Yes.
Your friend could have just ruined it too. Like, who cares? So, like, I don't hang out here.
I care immensely, actually.
I very much do. And also I hate the idea of like, oh, she's above 18, so it's fine. No, if you were wondering, she's probably like, it's not okay. Age doesn't all of a sudden make somebody who looks like a child be okay to be attractive.
Yeah.
They still look like children.
This is where I get into a debate where there are some people who are born with genetic conditions where they will never not look like children, and I don't like the implication that like that person has to deal with enough. Let them date whoever the fuck they want.
Yeah, no. I
did. Yeah, I did see a news story about that. Oh, at one point there was like, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, I feel bad for this person. So you probably shouldn't make fun of her boyfriend for like.
Yeah, no, her boyfriend presumably like is getting enough shit, and she is also getting enough shit. Let them fucking be fine with that.
I'm going way out in the middle of nowhere, but I'm a big stand-up guy, and there's this stand-up comedian who is in his early 20s, but he has pituitary, I can't talk, but puberty, disorder, and he looks like he's 14, and he's a stand-up comedian, and he's been doing Kill Tony, and he kind of blew up, and his joke is like his 5 minutes is a really good 5 minutes, but his whole joke is I'm not going to use the PEDO word on YouTube, but he goes, I'm like a reverse one where I'm a child who's into adults because I look like a child who's into adults, but I'm actually an adult. Mm-hmm. So so the people who I want to be into are only into me for horrible reasons.
Yeah. That'd be a rough one. Like it'd be rough to like wade through all of that shenanigans to find someone who's like, no, I just actually like you as a person.
Everyone who's like, oh, so how old are you? I'm 21. Ah, dang it. Whoa, what?
Wait a minute.
That was the wrong reaction. There should have been some relief there. Yeah.
But yeah, the guy's on Kill Tony. Yep. Russ knows what I'm talking about. He's just got this like a joke where he goes like, I'm actually older than time itself, and I've always existed. It's a really good 5 minutes. I will tell you, go check it out. But yeah. Anyways, do we want to keep going? I feel like we kind of nailed a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I
don't have much more to say other than
like it's 11.
I feel like I agree with Michael that we have a lot of the Nightfort coming in wins. That is going to be that's where the payoff is for all the setup, and the reason that those edits were made was it would have been too much of a tipping the hand of like, this is going to be important, so pay attention. Because George likes to give good hints, but not like direct hints. It's to say, like, if you can see everything that points to the Red Wedding, but it's never jumping off the page at you like, Walder Frey's going to do something sketchy. We have reasons to question Walder Frey's loyalty. Is always there.
His symbolism is so well hidden that I usually need a smarter person than me to point it out. Like the first time somebody brought up all the different Weirwood symbolism in the chapter where Catelyn is watching the Battle of the Whispering Wood, like Weirwood stuff, and then there's a lot of like trees becoming alive and like things like that, like of the wordage, and there's so much of that, even like the fight at Deepwood Mott, where poiscoidal cheese eating Asha starts to have thoughts about the Weirwoods or the children of the forest used to attack people with trees, and then people dressed as trees fight her like later. I'm like, God, he's so good at this.
He is. He wants you. He wants the only way that you can explain what's going to happen to someone is for you to sound like always the Always Sunny guy with the strings and and that's as you mentioned, like my theories sort of sound like that at first until you get like all the points out, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute. And that's how my series grew. Originally, it was going to try and be like 3, 4, maybe 5 episodes. I'm like, no, wait a minute now. If I don't go kind of point by point, everyone's going to think I'm insane. Like, there's no way around it. I have to just break it down.
You put the cart before the horse, and you started just like, all right, so by the end of this video, I'm going to explain to you how Nan is actually Nettles and freaking Leaf. And I was like, No, you're not. And then you got by the end, I was like, oh, you snaked that one out, like barely, bro. And still, I like to bring that one up, and I do think it's probably one of your most tinfoil out of your tinfoil.
Yeah, I agree.
In that one, you know, it's kind of fun for how crazy it is. You know,
it's not the strongest one where it's like I could definitely see it not being true. But if it is true, he's done all the setup for it.
If I want to make,
I don't know if I've seen this one.
The best one for it. Like if I want to be like, you know how crazy Micheal talks about stuff is.
Zach, if you haven't seen it, it's like my most viewed video.
Yeah,
you should check out Old Nan is a child of the forest working with Bloodraven.
Yeah,
that's I think.
Old Nan is Leaf / Nettles.
Yeah. So wait, okay. So Old Nan, I think, I've seen the thumbnail. I didn't realize Nettles was tied into that, because Nettles is one of the characters I find very fascinating.
Yeah.
I did, because of you, I started looking at, because Leaf just straight out says there's us who are walking around. Mm-hmm. Like, we're around, don't worry about it. I have went and looked, and like Ghost of High Heart, I don't even think is a fan theory that it's
I think
a child
that one's the most clear cut. Jenny of Oldstone just says it, and the only reason no one believes her is because no one believes Children of the Forest.
Because she went too far south to say it. Like she said it in King's Landing, so everyone's like, "Whoa."
Like there's not even counter evidence ever given, and she is still alive and looks the same. Like 30 years later, she was so old then, and she's still just in the same state. So that one to me is clear cut. Here's the other one.
I do have a crazy tinfoil theory I was going to try and hit Tom with, but I couldn't find enough evidence, which is that Jenny becomes the Ghost of High Heart, and they like swapped during the fire. The magic ritual there turns Jenny into the ghost.
that would be the only other way to explain the fact that she's still alive at the same age. But
people just mistook her. But yes,
to me, I think Child of the Forest is most likely.
Yes,
and weird. Go ahead.
And we have Barristan's memory of of her also that lines up with the description of a child of the forest.
Yep.
Here's a weird thing. Did anyone else have the realization when you realize when Leaf says I was born during the time of the dragon, did anyone else think, wow, Leaf is young? Like, she is within the books that we have. Like, that makes Leaf. I think Michael got frozen. There now.
I might have froze there for a minute.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. It's okay. Your face is just sick. Someone is frozen. Maybe not this time. The last time it was blurry. But no, I do think it's a little weird how young Leaf is. Like, she's within the written history. Like, we have all those books. We know all the time that she was around for. That's like when it comes to Westerosi time, which is just really long. She is like a blip. Like,
and to me, the most interesting thing about that is how like it. Even if you don't fully buy the Nettle Nan theory, she is out there at the time Bloodraven is out there walking around. Like they probably met at that point. I think that's like a big part of like, how did Bloodraven end up in this cave way north of the wall? Well, he probably met a child of the forest at one point when Leaf was out there walking. And this was actually, I was going to pitch, and maybe we could do a stream about this at some point here. Cause when I made that video, and the video before it about Children of the Forest in disguise, a bunch of people in the comments came up with really good suggestions. And I thought like maybe we could do like a tier list of like, how believable is this suggestion to be a child of the forest?
I don't like Nettles. Ooh. I don't love Nettles that much because I like Nettles as a character too much. And I don't like it when somebody takes something that's actually more interesting if it's normal. Like, you know, she's just somebody who with a little bit of dragon blood who figured out how to tame a dragon is more interesting to me than being a magical being to begin with. It just
Tom and I talked this out, which is that Nettles could be a bastard of Daemon, and then it is like full on. No, because Tom says Damon doesn't actually have like that sort of relationship with her that
They sleep together.
Rhaenyra thinks.
Allegedly.
Tom's
They
reading was
shared
is that he is actually just like happy to have, having lost children, he's happy to have found another one. He is taking care of her. He's not a weird creepy sex thing with him for once. And Rhaenyra, unable through her paranoia to see that he is genuinely just taking care of a kid, projects her like paranoia onto him.
Paranoia. She was groomed by this man.
In the show, yes. In the book, who knows?
It's not too far off on the book.
She reflects her accurate life experience on this man.
Yes.
Paranoia. She did it to him.
Yes. In the show, yes. Completely and totally.
The 16-year-old because I did with you.
So
don't cut that out and use that ever. I need to be really careful with when I speak for Targaryens.
I was having to be real careful not to have a clippable 3-second clip there earlier.
That was really bad.
Talking to.
Then I pointed it out.
Yeah.
But one thing I was going to mention, though, one of the suggestions for a child of the forest that actually, upon looking at, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of convinced about that. Is it Weasel, who shows up with Arya, like that girl as she's running through the forest. There is a literal child of the forest who
Weasel.
cannot talk. She can't talk, and she eats mud. Those are the two things.
Yeah.
And then she disappears into the woods again.
Would have thought Weasel.
And,
that makes perfect sense.
She doesn't die, though? Don't they kill Weasel?
No, she runs off, and Arya thinks, "Run, Weasel, run," and never slow down.
Oh my god, I thought Weasel died. Maybe I'm mixing her with the crying older chick.
Lami dies, and
no, there's an older woman.
Oh, the crying woman.
Yeah, the crying woman who all she does is cry, suffer, and die.
Nope. So Weasel pops in, checks on Arya, follows
some
Arya
mud.
for a minute, gathers some information, eats some mud, and pretends to be a little kid, and then dips.
Dude, and Weasel is absolutely a child of the forest. You just
I'm also convinced too.
Hard.
That's S tier. If we ever do the tier list, I'm arguing for Weasel in S tier.
I'm with it.
Every name that Arya chooses to take is important except for Weasel. So if Weasel is actually a child of the forest, it all of a sudden gives, because Nan is really important because of old Nan. Then she also is Cat, as in Catelyn, Cat of the Canals. She picks a lot of names, and one of them is Weasel. And Weasel was the weird one for me because it wasn't symbolic, but maybe it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And also Weasel's a nature name, sort of like Leaf or Nettles. Or,
Yeah, I hate the fact that Nettle's name totally works.
All
right, I'm starting to yawn too. I think Zach yawned.
I do. I've been yawning.
That affected me.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I think we've covered the Nightfort well enough.
We did not need to go this long, and we did. So I want to thank everybody 100% for watching, and for all your comments of keeping this going, and of course Kristy for suggesting this and pretty much literally pushing us all together to do it, and super awesome views. So I can it's always awkward when I ask people to pitch themselves at the end. So I'm going to pitch. Go check out Zach and Interesting Nerd Club. Him and Tom break down some really cool theories down there. And just like me, they do it really low budget and just awesome. You get all that polish out of the way.
Yeah.
Just two guys saying really awesome stuff. And I love it.
We might have a return to the election series soon. We might have one of those out. We've been doing with Mirror Reads. Talking about the strange elections of Westeros. I'm hopefully got to talk to Tom about that, but we should have another one of those out soon.
It is not a secret of how I think the Kingsmoot chapter is top 5 of the entire.
We haven't recorded the Kingsmoot one yet. I want to do that. It's the one I wanted to talk about the most when we started. Now I really enjoyed the ones we did, but I have a lot to say about how
Seals guy over here starts yelling about banging seals.
It's great. Yeah, it's great how they have a caucus system on the Iron Islands for whatever reason.
Yeah. We can live like kings and bang seals. Shut up, Gilbert.
Nobody wants to fuck seals but you, Gilbert.
I also do I didn't think about doing it until after I filmed my entire Gilbert Farwin video that I should have, because I was reading him as this crazy Gilbert Farwin, but I should have did Gilbert Godfrey though. All right, guys, I should be king so we can bang seals.
Yes.
Shut up, Gilbert. And then Micheal talks about stuff. Also, go check out his stuff. He does tinfoil a little correctly, and also I do like all of your deep dives lately into not only Night 40 type stuff, but your deep dives into old gods lately has been really good. So go check out his stuff. But I'm assuming if you've made it here, you already know who he is. But yeah, go check his stuff out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got anything else,
guys?
Before we say peace? You got anything else?
I'm good.
All right, the Night King did nothing wrong, and
Night King did nothing wrong.
Peace.
See you, everyone.